for you new people, I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. You don't do your job, I'll shoot you. You get me.
We get you, sir!
Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Ratcats Roughnecks!
Yeah, I'm starting on time. Come on now. Today's going to be a very interesting show, just to let you know from the beginning. I'm going to step on some toes. And got Ned in the office today. Ned's right next to me. Now we are live from my studio, the Rational Male Studios, from Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. Ned's with me, back in a second. Still recovered. We're going to talk about cuckoldry today. I haven't done a show on cuckoldry in a long time. It's interesting because it's kind of part of what I'd like to call the holistic version of the red pill, because there's so many related topics to it. I'm doing this against my better judgment, by the way, and I'll explain to you why that is here in just a moment. But first, we've got to turn off echo cancellation. Much better. Okay.
Steve, does it ever bother you when these people come at you for the cuck? They're treating you like you're sitting in the cuck chair every time.
I don't care. I will do cuckoldry. I will now. I will practice it because I don't give a I don't care. Like, if you get off because you like to sit and watch your wife or girlfriend get by another dude, then God bless. Then do it. Who cares? I don't give a If you want to watch your girlfriend suck off your fucking dog or cat, I don't give a
Hold up.
No, wait. But I just want to be. Hold on. Wait. I want to be explicitly clear.
Okay.
I don't
Please
care.
clarify
I want to be explicitly clear. I don't care because if somebody's making weird attacks like this, they've already ran out of everything to say, and I have no respect for any of these people otherwise. And I'm not like trying to say that any sexual relationship I have is better than any other sexual relationship. Don't ever be confused.
Ain't nobody got time for that!
I think that the reason why I don't care is because I don't practice actual cuckoldry. Okay, I don't give a about that. And I will do it. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. If you're huge, at least 8 inches, BBC, black or Hispanic, DM me, okay, and I'll find some chick I like, and you can go rail her all night. I don't give a about that. If I did do it, I wouldn't care. These people are retarded.
Yeah. Yes, you're a slave to money like me.
That's a slave?
Yeah.
Having a
slave.
job?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. I'll have a job.
Yeah,
shagging.
so wait. I just want you to, just so that we're clear, look directly in that camera and tell 100 million men that they're slaves because they don't let other men their chick for money and instead they have jobs. Go ahead.
Yes. If you want a good lifestyle and you don't let other people your missus, you're missing out and you're a slave.
You're missing out. Ladies and gentlemen, you're missing out. If you have one of those stupid jobs where you're supporting your family and you're not letting Chad fuck your chick for cash, you're missing out, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, but this is oddly specific.
Manosphere pundits from multiple subgroups claim publicly that human extra-pair paternity in the West is around 30%. Right? They believe that 30%.
All right, not gonna lie, I have to, but not me. You didn't hear that from me. I think I make damn sure that I'm straight with this.
Of babies come from covert affairs by women who have tricked their husband or boyfriend into raising that baby. I've heard higher, but I'll be fair here and choose the least unhinged number, 30%. 30%? 1 in 3?
Where have you heard higher? That's what I want to know. Who's saying higher than 30%?
Look to your left, look to your right. One of you has a dad that's not your dad. Are you kidding me? The guys who believe this cite the revealed rates of paternity fraud in cases where paternity has been disputed and a test has been requested, which is like trying to estimate the incidence of car crashes by surveying cars at an auto shop. The men are already suspicious enough to pay for the test. Of course, the rates are high in these samples. In large Western samples, without this selection bias, paternity fraud is consistently less than 3%. And to be clear, 3% would be a high estimate. I'm being very generous here. Even at conferences and in classrooms among people like myself who think extra pair paternity is a significant factor in human evolution, you'd almost never hear someone put the estimate that high. And that's still a 10th of what these guys say. They're off by an order of magnitude.
I'd like to know who these guys are.
You can get a woman to do anything you want her to do by validating her feelings. Let me tell you something, bro. You do not have to lie to women. If she like you enough, she'll lie to herself. Promise. Now you great guy. You gotta manipulate. You don't gotta gaslight. If she like you enough, she'll gaslight herself. She will manipulate herself. Nah, but he really do like me though. Yeah, but he did this. But he did this. But he really do. He a good guy. She'll lie to herself. So you don't have to validate their feelings to get whatever. Yeah, if you that nigga, nah. You don't have to. Right. Girls break rules for the nigga that they want. Ooh. And they make rules for the nigga that they don't want. True. Wow. So if she... that boundary talk is great. It sounds...
I have to drop this in.
Say my name.
Great on social media, but any girl that has really liked the dude, she gonna bend some of them, yeah. Some of them, certain boundaries she will bend on. Nah, y'all do.
Girl, to make a rule quick now.
Yeah, somebody rule.
For 6'6", tattoo, and a beard. 6'6" tattoo, and a beard. And get back. That nigga got a whole new set of rules.
Wow, what? He got his own rule book. He said that rule book full of one page. One page.
One friend who's seeing maybe like 4 guys right now.
The one thing I don't like about Swedish girls, hey, I know this for a fact, that you could be dating a Swedish girl and she could have 10 guys on rotation.
I agree that it's okay to do that. Depending on like the circumstances and stuff like that as well. If I'm dating you and I've slept with you, I might still date other guys, but I wouldn't sleep with other guys, if that makes sense.
You wouldn't?
No.
But what's the point of dating her?
Because we're not.
But if you were dating other guys, you wouldn't sleep with them?
If I've slept with someone, then it's, it could happen. It could happen.
Right.
It depends how often we're seeing each other, I would say.
What, once a week?
If we see each other once a week, then I'm not going to be sleeping with someone else. Seeing like once every 2 weeks.
1 week more?
Yes, one week more. Then maybe.
Maybe.
Not sleep with someone else, but date someone else.
When you talk to girlfriends, is dating multiple guys at once, right?
Yeah. They maybe might do a bit more than what I do.
What's the number we're talking about? 5? Like 2 digits?
Guys at a time?
Guilty! 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 Guilty!
You wish you would have said?
Like ever in my life?
Ever in your life.
I was dating this guy and I don't know if it's so much what I wish I would have said, but it's like my only regret in life. I decided to not continue to date this person after college because I was moving to Chicago and he was moving somewhere else. And I kind of had this mindset of like, I'll find somebody else like him. And I thought about that person for years and what that could have been because that connection was really amazing. It kind of...
He chose poorly.
Haunted me for a long time. The breakups that are hardest to get over are the ones where you have that what if, where it was so amazing and maybe it was cut short, and then you have this vision of what your life could have been like with that person.
Sweden is
and
not
the ones
one
that are
big
actually
orgy.
sometimes easier to get over are the ones where you lived it out with that person. You worked through the challenges and you realized it wasn't going to work, and then I'm not left wondering what if anymore, right?
Was there ever a part of you that still wants to reach out to him?
I've thought about it, but it feels, I don't know. I literally have a draft on my phone that I would send him, but I don't feel the need to send it anymore.
You learned how to be okay with the what if.
Yeah, I feel more resolved than I ever did before, even though it was like 10 years ago.
That's all right. There's no time frame. What's your name?
Gilly.
Hunter.
Nice to meet you.
A guy can do.
I'm not really into nice guys because I look boys, so I can't really think of anything nice that they can do.
My lucky day, hell yeah. I'm just joking. All right, and what's the worst thing a guy can do?
I guess be nice.
Be nice.
Because sometimes if you're too nice, it gives like, it's like the ick.
Really?
You know? Because it's like, why are you so nice?
Do you like when guys like degrade you type shit? Is that what you like?
Not degrade me, but like, you know? Because I feel like if a guy is nice, that means he gets no girls, and that's like a turn off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. But then I'm on social media like, I want a guy that gets no bitches, but like that's just not true. So.
Okay.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Guys, when you finally meet the crazy girl of the neighborhood, she's been with everyone. Now it's your turn. And now she's not like that anymore. I'm not like that no more. You're special. No, I'm last.
You can't cheat doesn't make you loyal.
Right.
So let's cut the bullshit.
Isn't it? There's a bunch of women out there who legitimately think their man is loyal. No, their man lives in Des Moines and has no options.
Right.
That's essentially what's happening. Put your man on Charing Cross next to the Playboy Mansion, and then let's see how loyal he is.
Well, hey, look, but the thing of the matter is you could probably put that man in Des Moines over there. He wouldn't do shit because if me and you turn up, it's over anyway. And if you put me in Des Moines, I'm going to get plenty.
Yeah.
I'm going to run the block down. Me. I don't give a shit. And that's the thing is like there's all these guys out there that'll run around acting like they're super loyal and that they'll play, oh, I'm a man of God, especially in the South.
Man.
Bruh, Jesus' game is real. Jesus' game is
I did
real.
not think we'd go to this place, but yes, you are correct. I have absolutely seen this where a guy is like, I am a good man, worthy of a good woman, and
Right.
he. The difference is I'm telling the truth and he's lying.
Like through his teeth, G. Through
Bro.
his
So you know,
It's booty. And part of growing up is understanding that when people hate on you, maybe for your style, maybe for the things you like to listen to or play, they hate on what they've given up on, okay? Up here on the roof screaming and cussing at people. A lot of you guys think it's hilarious. Some people get offended. You got to realize you're only looking at yourself and going, I couldn't do that. Drop the hate. Get it out of yourself, because let me tell you something. When it's time for you to step the up to the plate and realize your goals, you're going to have the same dialogue for yourself. For those of you positive guitar players, I'm looking for 15 more of you who want to be a part of a positive community of guitar players being run by me, being taught by me. If you're interested in that, leave a comment below. Let's meet for a free strategy session right now. Let's do it.
I've got to give this dude a freaking medal. He's a red pill medal. He's like, the dude is so cool. Anyways, he's like between him and Shred, I think those guys are like the two ultimate like red pill guitar guys I know. And Nuno Betancourt, like they always have like a really good message that's like broader than the actual what they're talking about. But I was trying to leave you with you guys with something like positive, especially after today's show, because I'm probably going to step on a lot of toes today. I'm just going to point that out right away. By the way, today's textbook class comes from Promiscuity by Dr. Tim Burkhead, which is interesting. It's a great book. I've referenced it on multiple occasions on this show. I have used it as a basis for a lot of my essays as well. But like when people ask me, like, you know, oh, Rolla, what's your reading list? I mean, besides my five, what's your top 10? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Rational Male. There you go. That's half of it right there. But what would be on that list would most definitely be Promiscuity by Dr. Tim Burkhead. And Tim is an evolutionary biologist, not an evolutionary psychologist. And the reason why I've been kind of going back to this book, and I have multiple copies of it. This is the copy that I get to use a highlighter in. I just kind of like bought it just so I could like mark it up, because I keep finding myself coming back to it. Yeah, Tim Burkhead, B-U-R. Here, I'll read it to you. It's B-I-R-K-H-E-A-D. Tim Burkhead, B-I-R-K-H-E-A-D. And it's a really fantastic. He has other books too. This is like one of his more older ones. I think this was like in the mid 2000s when he was writing this. But the guy is one of the preeminent experts on sperm competition, and at least that's what they used to call it back then. And I don't know if that term is really in vogue anymore, simply because we've blotted the human genome, but we've also figured out that a lot of what we thought about on the molecular level, on the cellular level, when it comes to sperm competition, a lot of that selection and a lot of that competition is actually decided by the ovum, and not so much the actual sperm itself. There used to be a theory that there were like sort of runners and there were blockers, and there's like killer sperm versus like the sperm that had to get, like, it's like a football team, you know. So we got a clear path for your running back sperm to get to the end zone and fertilize the egg, and it's like, yeah, a lot of that theory is kind of, I mean, it still has some merit to it, I guess, but once they discovered that human ovum produce proteins that select for different men's sperm at the site of conception, yeah, that's another thing that I don't think it's talked about enough by people who are sort of, you know, what I'm now calling the Evo Psych gatekeepers. Because a lot of guys who are sort of anti-red pill right now, and there's a whole lot of them, seem to think that the red pill is only we only rely on one thing, and that's evolutionary psychology. And to the lion's share, yes, you would be correct about that, but that's not the only thing. And I think that a lot of even some well-meaning guys who are part of the what's that? Hold on a second, this was too good. Rollo Polo, where'd you get that? Call me Rollo Polo. Where'd you get that Hummer of Thor? Hammer of Thor? Hummer of Thor? It's a Mjolnir. I forget where I got it from. I was gonna say I thought maybe I got it from like I think I got it from Grimfrost. Look up Grimfrost. I think that's pretty much where I got it. So yeah, when you're anti-red pill adjacent, yeah, sure. Today, guys, I don't know how long I'm going to go for today. I'm going to try to make it at least 2 hours, but like I said before in the beginning here, I do have Ned he's right there. And if I had the Ned cam, I would be more than happy to shine it on him so you can see how he's doing, but he's actually asleep right now. My voice puts him to sleep. I'm so glad. I'm so exciting for him that he stays awake to watch the whole thing. So I am upstairs. If I have to take him downstairs, though, then that might end up, I might have to put a video on for you when I do that. Just full disclosure here. But I also wanted to, the reason I'm kind of giving you this preface today, are you? Yeah, well, you shouldn't be worried about it. I'm going to actually, I'm okay. Full disclosure once again. I guess I maybe should get the nastiness out of the way here first. Somebody sent me, and I don't know who it was, and if somebody wants to cop to it, I'd be happy to give you a shout out. But somebody sent me a video of Lucario, Mr. Lucario, and Lucario is a friend. Okay, Lucario's been on with Mike Sartain before. I've been on with Lucario, and I forget the other guy's name, his partner, his business partner, his show host partner, on Fresh and Fit, gosh, a couple of times at least. And I like Lucario quite a bit. I think he has a good take. I think especially when it comes to like sort of the quote unquote black manosphere, I think he's a really good positive force for that. However, I'm probably going to step on his toes today a little, just a touch. And I'm probably going to step on Andrew Wilson's toes for a little bit today. But I want you guys to know that that's some cold shit. Thanks. that is some fucked up shit. I would never say such a thing. I want you guys to know I still have my fucking bronchitis too. I like Lucario quite a bit. I like Andrew Wilson quite a bit. When I did the breakdown between the sort of dust up, to put it lightly, between Wes Watson and Andrew Wilson, I tried to I try to be John Madden, right? I like sort of like the halftime report, like here's what happened. I wish I had I need to be able to draw on the screen or something like that, so I can show you where the end arounds were and all the defensive and offensive plays were happening. So I try to be as analytical, coldly analytical as I possibly can, and especially on a topic like cuckolding. And cuckoldry is a very delicate topic, because I think that guys who don't fuck, cuckoldry is a really tough concept for them to wrap their heads around. But it is, and there's a reason for that, because it's a dynamic that exists not only in human beings, but also pretty much every damn animal in the world, right? Which is why I brought out Tim Burkhead, and I need I need him to do the heavy lifting for me today. So I'm going to read a little bit from that. Is this a stream about Jack Murphy? No, it is not. Not directly. Although maybe I should like bring up a couple of things. If you notice, since you brought up, now we got to reset the Jack Murphy clock. Thanks a lot. But since you brought up Jack Murphy and the infamous Cuck article from 2015, by the way, which destroyed the wonderful show called You Are Here with Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer, that was the kill shot, I think, of that show. But the Cuck article and then all the stuff that came out in the aftermath of that infamous, now infamous, heartfelt episode of You Are Here. We come to find out what, Jack Murphy was basically pilloried, and he's like for essentially doing exactly what Destiny has made a career talking about: cuckoldry, open relationships, other guys banging his wife because they were married, right? An open marriage, like he was just saying, I want BBC, right? So when I look at Destiny and then I look at Jack Murphy's over here, like, what the fuck, well, how does he get away with this and I don't, right? Well, Jack Murphy, of course, was trying to sell himself as something he's not. At the very least, you got to give Destiny a little, some integrity points for like sticking to his guns, like from the jump. Whereas Jack Murphy more or less tried to hide it for quite some time until he couldn't hide it anymore. And I thought what was funny about that whole incident, I don't know if people remember that was in December of 2021. And it was the episode the week after I was on with Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson on that show. And if they would just have asked me, if they say, hey, Rollo, we're thinking about having Jack Murphy on. And this is when Jack Murphy still had a gig with Tim Pool. And I could have warned you guys. I could have told you. I could have just threw up the red flag, but no. They didn't know. I hate to say it. I can't fault them because they just simply didn't know what his background was. And so poor little Sydney Watson is reading the chats and just just innocuously reading one about the infamous Cuck article, right, that he wrote in 2015, which, by the way, was sort of like the dividing point between him and myself and more than a few people at the 21 convention back in 2018. So just throwing that one out there as well. But I thought it was interesting because this is the guy that was writing articles about how his source of conventional masculinity, a source of masculine pride, was the fact that he was comfortable with and secure in his masculinity enough to let his girlfriend, who was quite a bit younger than he is, go out on Tinder and go bang guys, random dudes, on the weekends. And by the way, this isn't like what I'm going to get into today with Andrew Wilson and Lucario and what the guy's name, Bevo. Why do you call this dude Bevo? I get it. But apparently there was an exchange between Andrew Wilson and this guy that everybody's calling Bevo right now. When you see his face, you'll understand why they call him Bevo. He looks like, was it Scritch from Ice Age? Okay, let's just get this out of our system. Ha ha ha. Wait, here. Okay, Bevo looks like Scritch. Thank you. Can we mature from middle school up to adulthood now? Got it. Okay. There, I threw you a bone. So when what was it? It's I think the title of Jack Murphy's infamous Cuck article was a surprising source of like secure masculinity or something like that, and that's how he led in. That was his lead for that one. And essentially it was almost like an apologetics essay that he I honestly, God, I think he was like deathly sincere when he was writing this stuff, thinking that other people, like other guys, would agree with him, would line up with him, would say, you know what, you're right. To be secure in our masculinity, we gotta allow our bitches to go bang other dudes, like without even like a hint of irony. I mean, when you get to that point, it's like, the other, maybe one last little footnote to that whole thing is Jack Murphy and Dr. Jeffrey Miller, and I guess, I don't know if they're still married, but I think they're married. Dr. Diana Fleischman, who I presume kept her last name, those two are very much evangelists for the polyamory lifestyle. Not actually Christians, but like they go out there and promote the lifestyle, and have been doing so for a long time, which is kind of interesting considering how tight they were with Jack Murphy back in the day. So I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny any rumors, but Jack Murphy's on when he had a podcast. I think his first or his second interview was Dr. Jeffrey Miller. So just to give you something to sort of ferment and marinate in for a little bit when we're talking about this today. I think like when you see the cuck beard, you know what the cuck beard is, right? It's like I've used it on. People are using it on Will Smith. I saw somebody put it on Pearl not too long ago, but it's the skunk beard, right? Well, that skunk beard comes from Jack Murphy. So nobody remembers Jack Murphy's name, but they do remember that beard, and that beard is now the international icon for cuckoldry. Excuse me. Yeah. So if you don't know who Jack is, you damn well know what his beard was all about, and you damn know what if somebody has that beard on, it means they're a cuck. A power cuck, right? A power top cuck. I don't know. But Jack Murphy, of course, looks like the dude's big. The guy's like fucking 6'3". Looks like a lumberjack. We used to call him the lumber cuck. But anyways, I'm not here to ride on him today. It's actually I'd like to talk about Andrew Wilson's exchange with Bevo instead of Sneeko. I guess it's Bevo. But before we do, I wanted to point out a couple of things out. The reason I brought up I inserted Mac and Murphy into today's intro videos, and I've used that one before. I think a long time ago. When it comes to extra pair paternity, that's the ultimate outcome of cuckoldry. So before we even jump into today's topic, I want to sort of give a definition of what cuckoldry is. Now, this is actually the starting point that Lucario used when he was talking about this. I want to say it was like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. But somebody sent me the exchange, and I thought, that I haven't talked about sort of the intricacies of cuckoldry and why is it so wildly popular right now as far as it being a kink. And so there's a lot to sort of unpack in all of this. There's a biological aspect, there's an evolutionary aspect, there's a evo psych, and of course an evo bio aspect to all of this too. And I think the red pill kind of gets a little bit of short shrift on this because as you saw with Mac and Murphy talking about some anonymous red pill content creators mouthing off about 30% rate of cuckoldry. Now, I have never heard nor seen anyone saying that extra pair paternity, which is a nice way of saying cuckoldry, is in anywhere in the neighborhood of 30%. Now, I don't know because I don't follow every single creator in the red pill, but I think I probably would have jumped up and taken notice of that. So if Mac, and if you're watching and you have an example of that, of somebody saying it was 30%, I would like to see that, and I'd like to know who's talking about that. I don't think it's that high. I've never said it was that high. I have seen numbers saying it is as high as like 3%, 2 to 3%, and then I've seen it that's the low end, and I've seen other people show numbers like legitimate numbers for anywhere between 10 and 12%. I have seen some people try to make the case that it's like up in upwards of the 20 percentile. But again, I think we're more sensitive to it today because of the internet, because of social media, because we'll see these stories of this guy who offed his entire family and himself because he found out, 15, 20, 25 years later that the kids that he believed were his children, which are now grown adult children, were his this whole time. And he's been basically living this lie with this woman who he now has no idea who she is. There was another, gosh, I wish I would have dug it up. I have an Instagram video of this guy. And I want to say it's like one of these Judge Judy kind of like TV shows, daytime TV shows. And the guy had spent 5 years in prison for not paying his child support on children that they later discovered through DNA testing were not even his kids. And there's no remorse, no regret, no nothing from the wife who had essentially put him in jail for not paying child support on children that were not his biological children, who he believed they were his biological children. And there's no punishment for it. There's no crime committed there. Like birth fraud, there's no crime for that. When I was showing you guys the what was it? The Make-A-Mom, the turkey baster, the plunger, the syringe kind of thing, where it's just basically going, you can do your own artificial insemination, ladies. And it's a thing. It's a real invention. It's a real item. It's a widget, right? I mean, you could go and and pull it out and put it in your cooch, and there you go. Nothing illegal about it whatsoever. And I will guarantee you that anytime, like the first time that a paternity suit comes up through the use of the quote unquote Make-A-Mom turkey baster plunger or whatever, as soon as that happens, like, people are going to be up in arms. They're not going to do jack shit about it, because they're going to say, they're just simply, it's going to gynocentric social order. They're just going to take the side of the woman, saying, well, she's pregnant with your sperm, but she pulled it out of the trash. She pulled it out of without my permission. She pulled it out. She pulled it out of the condom. Is this your jizz, sir? Yes, it is. Well, sorry, you're on the hook. All right. Even when some of these teachers, which, by the way, I'm going to do the student teacher statutory rapist story coming up. I'm thinking that's going to probably be the first podcast I do in the new studio when I get into the new Red One Studios in Las Vegas, which is down at Jade Apartments. So, and I don't feel bad saying that now, because the reason why I'm actually giving the location of where the studios are now is because there's no way to avoid it, because in the background shot of everything that we have there, you can't help but see like the big logo of Jade Apartments in the back. So I was like, okay, it's at Jade Apartments. But once sperm leaves your body, you're effectively powerless. Even if she goes and sucks it out of the condom with the plunger and puts it inside of her. You could be as responsible. I did wear a condom. Well, you should wear a condom. You practice abstinence or wear a condom. That's the only way. Like, well, I did, and she still did it, and there's no consequences for it. So there's nothing you can do about it except for get a vasectomy. No, don't do that. If you want to, go ahead. If you don't want to, fine. But I'm the only reason I even throw that out there, and now it's a standing joke with me and Fresh, for obvious reasons, is because it's protecting. Well, if there was a better way, tell me a better way besides abstinence. Even the condom's not reliable now, or vasectomy. If there was a reversible way to like sort of protect yourself from being baby trapped, that would have been on the list. Okay. Sorry, but that's what we got to work with, so that's what I'm going with. There you go. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that, but the idea that that the human reproductive process right now rests in the hands of one sex is kind of like this is like hasn't happened in over the course of human history, right? It used to be a sort of a collective process between the two, but anyways, getting back to the point here is, I think that when guys who, for lack of a better term, don't fuck, guys who beta average men, and when average men, like 80% of guys, hear about cuckoldry, it is so antithetical to the way that they're thinking that they can't really understand why it would be that they would want to get involved in any of that. Dude, really? There you go. There's your attention you wanted, brother. Got it. Good. Bye. Well, if you ever want to talk about that, we can talk about it. That's topic for another show. There you go. But I am going to talk about I think probably the first show that I do in the new studio will be because I'm just about done. I have collected 3 months of data of the teachers and their underage students. And the reason I was even talking about this in the first place is that those students who impregnated those teachers, those students are now actually on the hook for paternity. So even if you were quote unquote, statutorily graped by your adult teacher and you happen to be 15 and you fathered a child, guess what? You're responsible for the kid. That's how it works. So should I do Q&As today? Because everybody just seems to have like Q&As for me right now. Yes, I was alive during 9/11. Thanks. Yes, I remember that day. I remember the day before 9/11, 9/10. I distinctly remember that day. It was really weird. But anyways, the long and the short of it here is there was an exchange between Andrew Wilson and this guy that everybody seems to be calling Bevo right now. And the reason why I brought up Mac and Murphy in the beginning there was because the extra paired fraternity is a result of cuckoldry. So before we jump into this, I'm going to do what I think like Lucario didn't do his due diligence for this. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of an expanded understanding of what cuckoldry is. And it's probably gonna piss off a lot of people. So just bear in mind. I'm gonna put this up here real quick. This, of course, is the Wikipedia entry for cuckolds. Where'd it go? There we are. You can see this. Okay, what is a cuckold, Rolo? Well, it's funny you should say that. By the way, if you're ever studying cuckolds or cuckoldry or cuckold kinks or whatever it is, if you just type in the word cuckold into Google, don't do that. Just trust me, unless you're made of tougher stuff, right? I mean, seriously, I went down a rabbit hole that I probably, and this is like me talking here. Okay, I went down a rabbit hole here, so just bear with me. From Wikipedia for the free encyclopedia of the world. There you go. There's your plug. Okay, it's not about the film. Okay, a cuckold is the husband of an adulterous wife. The wife of an adulterous husband is a cuck queen. I don't know where that came from, but I guess there is a cuck queen. Got it? In biology, and this is what that, okay, so this part right here was the part where Lucario stopped. And really, I think Andrew Wilson kind of stops too. A cuckold is a husband of an adulterous wife. Basically, if you're letting somebody bang your girlfriend or your wife, you're a cuckold, right? But he's the husband. Now, does the guy know he's being cucked? That's up for interpretation. But here's the one the part that I think is much more important, which is in biology. Cuckold is a male who unwittingly invests parental effort in juveniles who, okay, so juveniles, very, very careful with their wording here, who are not genetically his offspring. This is the definition everybody dances around, including Andrew Wilson, because he's a cuckold by this definition. Andrew Wilson has kids that are not his own and is, now granted, is he wittingly doing it? Yeah, he is. But the parental effort, the parental investment part in juveniles who are not genetically his offspring. A husband who is aware of and tolerates his wife's infidelity is sometimes called a withole or withhold. And maybe that's more accurate. Maybe we should start calling these guys and say, you're a wit or a whittle or a withhold. Because that's, I think, is more accurate, because this is the guy who knowingly does this. So in the exchange between Andrew Wilson and Bevo's not a cuckold, he's a withhold or withhold, whatever it is. Withhold. And the reason why I'm going to sort of step on people's toes today is because I'm again getting back to getting back to Mac and Murphy's video about whether or not, extra paired parenting, like extra paired, paternity, is that the result of a cuckolding? So when he says, I can't believe these guys, it's like by an order of magnitude, it's 10 times the amount that these guys are throwing out there, and everybody believes that 30% are like, look to your left, look to your right, and one of these guys, your daddy ain't your daddy kind of thing. Yeah, okay, it is ridiculous, but it's ridiculous in the sense that we're thinking that these guys are unwittingly the father, an unwitting cuckold. Because if we can make society normalize single mothers and wifing up single mothers and making stepdads, not the stepdad, but the dad who stepped up, make him a noble individual, to in some way socially reward him or congratulate him or reinforce the idea that it is not only moral and something that God and Jesus and your religion wants you to do, is to take care of the orphans. Well, they're not your orphans. They're this woman's she's a single mother and she really needs some help. And she needs a guy like you to step up to the plate and take responsibility, the parental investment responsibility of another man's progeny, offspring, children, chiblets, genetics, often at the expense of your own. And I have written several articles on this, and I don't know. There's no way I'm going to dance around this, so I'm just going to lean into it. Most guys who decide that they're going to get into a single mommy situation in a permanent sense, in the sense that they're going to marry that mommy and take over, and in some cases even adopt. And by the way, if you're going to marry that mother in the first place, you're probably going to be on the hook for kids that aren't your own. I can prove that too. In fact, I will show that. I'll show you the data for that here in a bit. But if your name is written on the birth certificate and you don't challenge it, you're the father, irrespective. Now, there's a lot of people, I hear even Pearl talking shit about this, like, well, you know, we need to have DNA testing for every live birth. And I 100% agree with that. I think we probably should. Because if we're going to talk about, if people don't want to get a prenup and they say, oh, it's like calling your wife a whore, right? Like Michael Knowles saying, well, I wouldn't get a DNA test on my kids because it means my wife would be a whore. I'd be like calling her a whore. I don't want to get a prenup because that would be like calling my wife a whore in future tense, right? Or proactively calling her a whore, like we're going to break up, right? It's like beginning with the disaster, imminent kind of thing. But these are the same guys. I think it's really ironic that the people who are against prenups are also the same people who are against DNA testing of every live birth. And it wouldn't be that difficult to do. And I think at some point, we're probably going to get to that point where we have to do that just for genetic reasons, like genetic diseases. And once we get into more like genetic gene editing and genetic engineering and things like that, like right now, a lot of guys are finding out, like I see stories like this. Okay. Guys who are the father of, they believe they're the biological father of their kids. And then suddenly he's got some kind of like disease or some kind of illness that is a genetic illness. And they need, they need a kidney or some shit like that. And the kids are not a genetic match because they were never a genetic match in the first place. And there are laws in place in I don't know, a great many states, put it this way. I think France also does not allow a DNA test unless the mother allows for the DNA test. But if through the course of like blood testing, and there is a 100% certainty that the kids are not the fathers, the father is not the biological father of the kids, they are not allowed to tell that father that those kids ain't his kids. And I forget who it was it Sargon of Akkad who was talking about Benjamin, what the fuck is his name? Talking about the Duluth model of feminism. Well, an extension of the Duluth model of feminism is also the fact that DNA tests still reside, the permission, the approval, the access to DNA tests has to go through the mother or the woman. Now you can still go and do that. Like guys will go and swab their, the cheek of their kids and to do it themselves. Like you can still do it, but legally, medical professionals, whoever, are not allowed to tell the father that the baby ain't yours. They have to let the woman say that because of the high propensity for guys to fly off the handle and either off themselves, off the kids, off the wife, and more or less become hostile and violent as a result of that. And there's a lot of biological and evolutionary reasons why that could possibly happen. Primarily because of the evolved jealousy response in men. And you can't talk about cuckoldry without talking about jealousy. And I think that's where a lot of the average guys, the 80%ers, really lose their shit. Because cuckoldry, even the prospect of cuckoldry, triggers a jealousy response, and a very rudimentary Darwinian jealousy response, even if it's not their kid. Like just the fact that anybody would be promoting that lifestyle of cuckoldry or open relationships, or I think one of the reasons why you see someone like Destiny sort of like start talking really, really fast, and like really you can see he got worked up over just, hey, we hear you're a proponent for cuckoldry, right? Or it's a kink lifestyle or some shit like that, right? And he loses it because I think he understands that the reason why he gets hammered for that is because there's so many guys out there who understand the innate evolved jealousy response, and they throw it back in his face. And I don't know how he's managing with Melina and the new boyfriend, but I can't imagine there's not a little bit of jealousy there and not a little bit of, let's just say, ill will. So when I am looking at somebody like McAmurphy talking about the extra pair paternity rate, is it 30%? No, but the thing is it doesn't have to be, because we normalize the idea of cuckoldry. Now, I've written about this on two occasions in two of my books, the Positive Masculinity, and that's the third book. And I believe I talked about it a little bit in Religion as well in the fourth book, when it comes to cuckoldry. Cuckoldry, by the way, is, from an evolutionary Darwinian perspective, is probably the most existential fear that men have. And so when people say, oh, you're just insecure, like, yeah, because I evolved over the course of 200,000 years, and every predecessor that I had, every ancestor I had who was jealous, their genes went on to the next and to the next until it came down to me. And so jealousy has the jealousy response, the mate guarding behavior instinct has biological purpose. It has a biological function. And the reason why we still have that today in our modern society is because we are the products and we are the descendants of men who successfully fucked and reproduced because of that. So that's why it's really like, when I have a problem, like people say, well, Rolla, why do you have such a big problem with Jeff Miller? I brought him up in my last Substack too, which is, I think everybody should go read it. I might even go link you guys to it today. But people say, oh, I have such a problem with Jeff Miller. I don't have a problem with Jeff Miller. I think he's actually a brilliant guy. I think he's of the guys who are in the sort of the evolutionary psychology space right now, the influencer sphere, the gatekeepers of evolutionary psychology, the gatekeeping guys. I think he's got his shit together. I mean, the guys have been around and been doing it for a long time. I think he just sort of rejiggers things for himself to suit his lifestyle. And so when I brought up the fact, this was back in like 2016 or 2017, when I brought up the fact that he and his now wife, or then maybe she was girlfriend then, Diana Fleischman, were like very, very proactive about, talking about the polyamory lifestyle as far back as 2017, 2018, right? People threw it at me. It's thinking that I was like in some way moralizing about it. I said, I don't give two flying fucks about what your morals are. I want to know how you make this gel with what you know about mate guarding response, about and male jealousy. How do you make that jive? And the best response that anybody's ever given to me about that is like, well, you can't pull, only very highly emotionally connected, emotionally intelligent, special elite people can eroticize the jealousy response. In other words, make that jealousy response something that is like that you get off on. And that's really the root of the kink of cuckolding right now. So if you go and you look at like Pornhub, and you look at, and I don't mean Pornhub like actual site, if you go look at the blog for Pornhub, they keep very meticulous records, like yearly records about like what people are searching for, what they're jerking off to, at what times a day they're jerking off to. By the way, people gave me shit about this. Like I was talking about like how pornography like steals your time, because we're talking about like the sedation aspects. I think it was me and Mike. I think we were on Danza Project. We're talking about the sedation aspects of pornography, right? And I said, well, one of the things that pornography does is it's a time stealer. It's a time sink. So it takes, however long it takes you to rub one out, right? But it also steals your sleep. Because why do I say that? Well, well, you got personal experience with that role, or like you talking to these guys who are jerking off at like midnight? No, I don't have to. All I have to do is go Pornhub's like blog and look at the stats as to when the high hours, like the high traffic hours for Pornhub are. Usually right around, depending on where the person is, right around like 11 to 12 midnight. Because it's stealing time away from you and it's stealing your sleep away from you. And that's actually one of the things that I think either Alex Hormozy or like Andrew Huberman were talking about when they talk about pornography and sort of like the dangers of pornography, right? So that's where that came from. I felt like I better clarify that, because I think I mentioned that on the last show or 2 shows ago. So that's where it goes. If you go to Pornhub, you will see we keep track of well, certainly in the United States, but worldwide, the sexual habits and appetites of every man, woman, and teenage guy on planet Earth right now. And amongst those things is what's the most popular search terms? What are people like looking for? And by and large, I don't think it's number one, but I know that cuckoldry porn is well up there right now. I'd have to go look at that. I haven't looked at those stats since like 2023 or 2022, but like I don't know where it's at right now. But I know it was in the top 10. I know it was up there. So people will ask me like privately, they'll say, why do you think cuckoldry is such a most searched for porn thing? Well, because you're eroticizing the jealousy response, which I think is almost like rewiring your firmware, your evolved mental firmware. Why are you jealous in the first place? Because you need to why do women mate guard too, but why do men mate guard women? Well, because they want to ensure that the baby that comes out of that cooch is his fucking baby. That's why. That's the first thing anybody said. Remember when Ling Ling or whatever, a Daisy, when she was like, trying to baby trap the whole thing was like a collusion between her and some other chick, right? But the thing is that what was the first question people asked? Is it really his? Like that was the first thing. Like Fresh is over here sweating bullets, man. Like he's just like, ooh, is it really his? The reason why we say is it really his is because that's how important paternity is to guys. Because up until we had the invention of DNA testing, men had to take it on faith or take it on a woman's word that the baby that came out of her, unless the guy's white and it comes out black, she could probably pull it off. She could probably say, yeah, that's your baby. Was it Chris Rock, who tells the most lies and who tells the biggest lies? Like men tell the most lies, but women tell the biggest lies. And the biggest lie they say is, that's your baby. Because that has them on the hook for a lifetime. And I don't think like when it comes to extra paternity and the guy figures out like that it's actually not his kid. I don't think that a lot of guys or a lot of women realize the investment, the emotional investment that man has in the kid that he believes is his kid. So if that child, let's just say for sake of argument, that child is like, the guy believes that it's his kid. And now the child has been raised from like a toddler to adulthood. And the guy's put who he thinks is his son or his daughter through college, and they're going to get married and everything. And then finally, right before all the shit hits the fan, like right around 25, 26 years old, dad finds out that the kid's not his kid. That is probably one of the most, and I don't use this word often, but that's probably one of the most evil, most manipulative things that a woman can possibly do to a guy. They'll say, well, it's technically his kid. He raised it as his own, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but he didn't have that choice. He wasn't aware of that. And the reason why it's a big deal and why women want to say, well, why are you so insecure about that? Why are you so insecure about like whether the baby's yours or it's not? I've seen tweets occasionally. I've seen tweets from women who say, well, even if the baby's not yours, you still have to step up and you still have to take responsibility for the kid. Even if she fucked around on you and got pregnant, then it's still, if you're still in that relationship, you're still in a marriage with her, it's still on you and you got to go and take care of that kid. You got to be the man who stepped up, even though she fucked around on you, which of course is like ludicrous, right? But that's like without a hint of irony. I've seen women like tweeting shit like this. And because it serves their long-term reproductive interests, which is alpha fucks, beta bucks. All this cuckoldry argument that we're going to talk about today with Andrew Wilson and Lucario and Bevo, that's where it boils down to. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. What was it? Who is it? Is it the King of Spain? Somebody sent me the story on the King of Spain, and his wife has been like cheating on him. The King of fucking Spain, right? Like how do you level up from that? You don't. And that's why again, a lot of this comes back to like the pluralistic or dualistic mating strategy of women. And we see it evidenced in so many other dynamics, including a kink for cuckoldry porn. Because they're in no other form of pornography other than hot wifing or kink or cuckoldry. In no other niche of porn is it more apparent to see alpha fucks and beta bucks than the beta bucks sitting in the fucking cuck chair You know what I'm talking about. In the hotel. I can't even look at that fucking chair. Thank you for putting that visual into my head, Sterling. And yes, I've seen it online before. Sterling Cooper said, "Yeah, that's a cuck chair." I'm like, I feel like you avoid it. You don't want to sit. But the beta sits in the cuck chair and holds his wife's hand while she's getting rooted out by some, big bull who's the alpha fox, right? In what other scenario is it more evident that dualistic mating strategy of women? Where? Show me more. Show me where that is, because she's getting the best of both worlds. And it's so obvious to me. And it's so when I was doing the sort of the build up and the research for today's show, I came across a cartoon guide to help us all understand cuckoldry. And it is every bit as cringe as you probably imagine it's going to be. And I hate to say it, I had to see it, but you're going to see it today too. So, where do we go here? Jesus Christ, now how come I can't get my stuff? I need to get my stars going here. Where's my stars? It's not auto starring. Sorry, my bad. Why is this not auto starring today? Let's see. What did you say here? Oh, hi, Rolo. I recommend the Hindi movie Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Okay. To understand why Indian men are so blue pill and beta. Yeah, that, and you can watch India's Sons too, which is another travesty. There we go. Marriage causes divorce. Thank you. Are cucks genetically low value men? Yeah. Is being a cuck a mating and reproductive strategy for genetically low value males? Yeah. I can see how it could be construed as that. Alpha seed and cuck cash. Yeah. Okay. But here's what I would say. You have to remember, and this goes back to Mac and Murphy's sort of point here about the extra pair paternity. It's not about who's tricking who. It's about how many kids are born to fathers or how many children are fathered by biological fathers who the father that's in the home is not the biological father. Because we have, ever since the sexual revolution, we have systematically made it socially acceptable, at least in Western countries, for women to not necessarily cuckold them, but to sort of, I call this a retroactively or proactively cuckold men. Now, what's the difference there? The proactive cuckold is the one who is exactly what Mac and Murphy is talking about. It's deception. It's cuckoldry by deception. It's she goes out, runs around, gets fucked, and then gets pregnant, and then says it's your baby. That's proactive cuckoldry. And in the case that he's talking about here, it being 30%, I think he's right. I sincerely doubt it's 30%. And whatever those stats are, you're never going to get accurate stats for those, because it's in women's best interest to keep that secret, right? I mean, they don't want anybody to know. It would have to be self-reported, or it would have to be incidentally reported. And by that, I mean, like a man would have to discover that the kids aren't actually biologically his own kids. And they would have to take that. Okay, that's a stat. We got it here. Now we can start working with percentage points, right? Very difficult to get those accurate statistics for that without 23andMe or some genetic testing that we're all required to do. The other side of this is that if you look, now that we have plotted the human genome, we can also find out that as far back as 8,000 years ago, 17 women for every one man reproduced. So there is a huge variation of reproductive success amongst men versus women. So 17 women reproduce for every one man. Now that has been narrowed down into modern times for one man for every 7 women now. Okay, bravo, socially enforced monogamy. All right, agriculture. But that's still 7-1. Okay, it might not be as bad as 17-1, but it's still 7-1. Nature takes chances with men. Any sex that has the least amount of, let's say, spends the least energy or has the least investment in the reproductive process, that's the sex that the environment and evolution takes the most chances with, and of course it's testosterone, right? But still, that variation still points to the fact that, well, A, women are promiscuous, and B, and not always, but like there's a lot of variation in there. It could be a warfare. It could be other things. There's a lot of other factors, but those factors generally focus on and affect men and their reproductive success, whereas women can reproduce. That's it. So, but now, in the terms of retroactive cuckoldry, that's what I'm getting at right now. And this is where I throw everything away that Mac and Murphy was trying to sort of like, sort of get on his sermonizing about, essentially. If I can convince you that as a beta male, or as a good sexual strategy, as good game, like single mommy game, if I can convince a guy that he will be socially rewarded, he'll be personally rewarded, he will be loved, a woman will want to fuck him, like he will be in some way rewarded for stepping up and taking on the parental investment responsibilities of another man. If I can tell society, hey guys, we all need to convince guys that they need to take care of these kids, right? I'm not going to be the one to tell Wes Watson he's a cuck, because essentially, by definition, he is. He married this woman who had two children from a previous marriage. Same thing with Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson is taking, I would say, 4 kids, right? From Rachel, who had and again, this is not, I'm not saying they're bad people or horrible people, but if you're going to talk about what the definition of a cuckold is, that's the definition. You are taking on the parental investment responsibilities of another man. Congratulations, you've been cucked. Whether you sign up for that or whether it's done to you through deception is immaterial, because the end result is you're taking care of kids that ain't yours. You are promoting the dissemination of another man's genetics into the future. And if you don't have kids with that woman, guess what? You will go extinct while his genetics go on to the next generation. If we can build a society, a kinder, gentler society that essentially facilitates alpha fucks and beta bucks being the retroactive cuckold that pays for the alpha fucks kids. If we can build a society around that, which we have been doing since the mid 60s, then we can have what's called retroactive cuckoldry. And we can, again, this is one sex determining the biological reproductive future for the rest of humanity. So if I can convince you that you're going to go to heaven, or you're going to get laid, or you're going to get tax breaks, or you're going to get, I don't know, whatever reward, name the reward for not being the stepdad, but being the dad who stepped up, effectively, you're normalizing cuckoldry, retroactively speaking, but you're normalizing cuckoldry. And you are, not only that, it's elective. You're electing to be a cuckold. And because all the guys in your church said, yeah, you're a good guy for doing that. Joseph was a cuckold by God because, Jesus was immaculate conception, was the son of God, right? And so Joseph was the guy who was like the beta who was like paying for all this shit. Like I have heard people say this before. I'm not saying this is my personal belief, but I've heard people make that comparison of the Holy Family, like Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, Joseph and Mary, right? Joseph was the first cuck. He was the first the stepdad, the non-biological father, according to scripture. So let me see if I can get through the rest of these here real quick. Like I said, I'm going to be stepping on a lot of toes today, but let me also explain here too. I tried to tweet this out, and maybe before I continue any further, I want to say that I like all these people very much. I don't have any axe to grind with anybody else, but I also have a commitment to objective truth. So think of this in terms of like iron sharpens iron. Maybe this gives Andrew something to think about. Maybe it gives Wes Watson something to think about. People kept asking me like, Rollo, when are we going to see you on Joe Rogan? Probably never, for the same reason that I'm telling you right now, because Joe Rogan is a stepdad. He's a guy who married a single mother. If I go on Joe Rogan's show and say, sorry, Joe, you're kind of a cuck, well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going on that show. Trust me. Hi, Rolo. May I recommend a movie? Okay, I got to that already. Wait, did I get to you? I did. Sorry. I hope I'm getting all of these right. Let's see. Where did I get that? Sorry, it's not starring these things for some weird reason. Did I hit a default or something? Maybe I have to star them myself now. Sorry, I want to get everybody so I can. I'm kind of weird this way. Okay, so let me get back to your question here. Are cucks genetically low value men? Yes, they can be. But don't forget, I could probably point out to some guys who are like probably genetically high value guys who get it in their head that this is a good way of resolving their reproductive problem. Because really, when I talk about reproductive problems, I'm talking about how do you facilitate reproduction? That's an ultimate outcome. That's not approximate outcome. How do I get laid is approximate outcome, okay, or approximate goal. How do I reproduce? That's an ultimate goal or ultimate outcome. Okay. So how do I get my dick wet? How do I go? Fucking come out here to Vegas. I can find you a whole bunch of hookers. You can go. You like escort? You don't even have to come to Vegas. You can get laid, right? Well, how do I find a woman to reproduce? Well, that's a much more complex ultimate outcome. Is being a cuck a mating reproductive strategy for genetically low value males? I don't think being a cuck necessarily is, but I think that signing up electively to marry a single mother or taking on the responsibilities of a child that is not your own, I think that you could definitely make a case, especially today in a post-sexual revolution world, that is a mating strategy for guys who simply don't have who have very few sexual options. Well, I prefer single mommies. No, you don't. They're just easier to fuck. But the price of fucking, well, somebody go tell Thomas V what a scat pack is. But the price of fucking and the price of your future reproductions with this woman is you've got to pay for and support and be parentally invested in a child that came before you, that you had no say in determining whether or not the child was going to be yours or his or anybody else's. So effectively, functionally, a cuckold is a guy, as I said here, I'll read it to you again if you'd like. Let's see, is a male who unwittingly invests parental effort in juveniles, it doesn't have to be babies, who are not genetically his offspring. Okay. Now this is unwittingly. I think this should be blown out a little bit more. Now, of course, a husband who is aware of and tolerates his wife's infidelity is sometimes called a withole or withhold. We got to remember that, guys. I think maybe cuck sounds it rolls off the tongue a little differently. But what's the function? What's the latent function? It's one thing to call you're a cuck. Like that. I'm sure that's where Andrew wanted to go with this when he was like, throwing, spitting fire at Bevo, right? But you're not going to shame Bevo because Bevo got no shame. There's nothing to work with there, man. I'm sure people want to go, oh, he's a cuck. They want to, make a big deal out of it. But the thing is it's kind of falls flat. It's not really as effective for guys who are just like, yeah, that's a guy who has eroticized his jealousy response. Doesn't care if you call him a cuck. Same thing with Destiny. It's almost like I would almost rather see Andrew Wilson go at Destiny in the same way that other guy in the beginning videos that I showed you. I would rather that would make for a much better podcast than Bevo. Destiny's a cuck. He's a coomer. Like if you start using those words, I downrank you like one notch. Like stay on target. Okay, I got to you. Jesus, man. It's so much better when these are all in one spot. Thanks, bro. I've read all your books and 48 Laws of Power, but still have an equalist mindset. I'm not sure what to do. How do I move forward? I'll tell you how you move forward. You go to the link right there, and you post that in there, and I will give you a very detailed response as to how you can move forward. You have an equalist mindset. Well, guess what? What's funny is like when people tell me that they still can't sort of break out of their old patterns of thinking. There's two ways to do that. You can either do it through practice and persistence, or you can do it through trauma, and you can do it through traumatic experience, which is the way most people do it, actually. So beware, be prepared. But no, Chris, hit me up on Minect and ask me that question on Minect. I can give you a much more detailed and personalized answer if you do that. And by the way, if you're wondering what Minect is the app that I use to essentially, if you give me a super chat any time of the week, is basically you have one question you want to ask and you don't want to like pay for a full like counseling session or something like that. You got a quick question, you got something you want me to do. I usually hit back. If you look at my past conversations, which some of them you can see on there. I usually give you a pretty detailed answer. So if that's you, then please use Minect. It's the second or third link in the description right down there below. I'm just starting this, and it's kind of fun because I get to compete with guys like Patrick Bet-David and Adam Sosnick. They make it kind of fun. And it's not terribly expensive. It's not really, everything's pretty much about the same price as a super chat almost. Well, not a $4.99 super chat, but yeah. I should just fucking read all these for you here real quick. There you go. Hey, my brother. Hey, my friend. There you go. Okay. What's this? I'm from a country in war after she cheating. Her excuse is that I was in war. I shall die. Can you give me advice that isn't in the moving on video? Do you really do you read your own chats here? Dude? Like if you're actually in war and a chick cheats on you while you're out fighting war, is this really somebody you want to get back? Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Because I'll tell you, if I was in your position and I was having like bullets fired at me and I'm like, okay, I survived war and my bitch cheats on me. And then she says, well, I didn't know if you were going to die or not, so I want to go and fuck other people. Okay, there you go. Oh, hey, here you go. Thanks, Doobie. How many times did you retweet this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did we already ban this dude? I think we should. He's been going to the clinic. Of course I've been going to the clinic. I keep telling you guys I have been, for fuck's sake. You know what's funny is like these guys, he's cheating. He's got TRT. I've been saying so for over a year now. Do you think muscles just like sprout from your arms and your legs and your abs and everything just because you take TRT? I can tell you from experience that's not how it works. If you followed me on Twitter and you see how often I like repost Hide Yamagishi's stuff, then you'll begin to understand. Peoples don't face these truths till they have to, i.e. heartbroken. Yeah, that's the trauma. And I have my heart shattered to see. Keep shattering egos, Rolo. Again, my point today is not to fucking step on toes. I'm just, sometimes you got to fucking break some eggs to make an omelet. Again, I like all these people. And by the way, Lucario was good, but incomplete. That's why I'm trying to sort of clarify a few things here. Because again, I haven't done a show on Cuckoldry in quite some time. Jesus, man. Oh, there you go. Thank you very much for that. You know what? You get one of these. This is too good. I haven't used this in a while. Yeah, I wonder if Fresh and Fit will still use that when they pivot to whatever they're pivoting to. Isn't it that the Cuckoldry is the ultimate level of solipsism? Yes and no. Depends. Is there any chance for the wife feeling any guilt, or is there also a possibility of a dark triad personality? You mean in the woman, dark triad personality? Yeah, but I would go more with women's innate solipsism before I would lean towards dark triad personality traits. Now, I'm not saying that that's impossible. I'm sure that it is very much possible, but I would go with the firmware before I would go with the software. So is she innately solipsistic? Yes. In fact, again, that's not a flame. That's a feature of female nature, not a bug. Okay. Because people go, well, she's solipsistic. She's hypergamous. That's evil. That's wrong. Only if you're on the sharp end of the stick. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is what it is. And you know what? If you don't know how to deal with it and leverage it, then yeah, I could certainly see how people say that's horrible. Is it immoral? Is it unethical? It can be, depending on, unless you're the guy who is knocking it out with her and you're the one that sort of satisfies that hypergamous, solipsistic impulse, then suddenly it's not an issue anymore, is it? So it's not as, I can't believe that women would want to marry a lifestyle and not the guy. That's the hard coding. Was cuckoldry common in pre-civilized men? Good question. Or were the women just stolen and the competing men deleted? Deleted. Yeah, pretty much. Excuse me. My water bottle. That kind of goes back to the alpha widow, which, by the way, was one of the reasons why I put the Swedish chick in the mix for today's intro videos, was because this is a chick who's still playing the field, man, and has no compunction for doing so. If a man, like not me personally, I guess me personally too, when I tell you to spin plates, or when I say tell you, but when I describe what non-exclusive dating is, dating non-exclusively, which is essentially just spinning plates, right? People remember it if I say spin plates. If I say you need to date non-exclusively, so people in one ear and out the other. Spinning plates. If I tell guys, you know what? It's probably a more pragmatic and more efficient way to sort of determine who has genuine desire for you, who doesn't, and to learn female nature by dating around. Does that mean you're fucking every last one? Not necessarily. And I make concessions for that in the plate theory, 6 chapters of plate theory in my first book. But of course, people think I'm just telling everybody just fuck anything on 2 legs, right? And the reason for that is because men aren't supposed to do that. Women are. When women have multiple suitors, and let's go back to calling it courting. Stop. You know what? Ladies, because I keep seeing ladies do this all the time, like when you're talking, especially when it comes, like the topic of chivalry comes up, right? Stop calling it courting. You don't live in Elizabethan Renaissance fair land. You don't live in like the Middle Ages. You don't live in the fucking aristocratic court of Francia. You stop calling it fucking courting, because courting was a specific set of like rules and games that the noble elite, the aristocrats of medieval Europe called it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. For fuck's sake. And stop calling it fucking chivalry too. Okay. Just say, hey, you know what? I need a guy with some fucking manners and courtesy and etiquette. How about that? Can we just go to that? Because every time somebody says, you notice this, every time somebody says chivalry, I open doors for girls all the time. It's more than that, dude. Jesus Christ. It's like, I know which side of the street to walk milady on. Do you know where that comes from, by the way? You're like a man's supposed to, here's the etiquette, right? The chivalrous thing to do is to make sure that the lady is on the inside of the street and you're on the outside of the street. You know why that was? It has nothing to do with getting hit by a car or something like that, although maybe that's the function now. But where that came from like medieval Europe. You know why? Because people didn't have like sewage systems back then, and they would take chamber pots and what was called slops at the time, and they would toss them out into the street. And if the slops hit the street, the person who was on the outside of that sidewalk or wherever they were going, walking right along, would get shit and piss all over them because they're throwing slops out into the street. And the man was expected to get all of that slops on him and not milady. That's where that comes from. Thank you. Well done. Now give me my $5 for your history lesson right there. That's chivalry. That's where it comes from. So stop calling it courting. Stop calling it chivalry. Like, call it whatever. Even dating, even the term dating. I just read about this. The term dating started in like the late 1800s, right? And it was like it caught on. Like that dating was synonymous with like boyfriend, girlfriend, fucking, whatever it is, right? But nobody dates anymore. And they haven't dated for a long time. I mean, even the latter half of the, latter, 80s, 90s, nobody was dating. Hey, I'm going to put you in my book. It's not fucking Happy Days. We're not going to go out and, go down to the, soda shop and have a malt. We're not going to go to the sock hop. We're like, can we like at least update our language just a little bit in this respect? It just kills me, man. But anyways, more to your point, was cuckoldry a common pre-civilized? Nah, good question. Funny thing is I also happen to have a very good article on that, and that's a very good segue. Where'd it go? There we go. This is the 16th century. Welcome. Let's go back in time to the 16th century. Wait, I even got this. I even have the sound effect now. Let's go back in time to the 16th century, where men were men and they wore antlers on their heads. There we go. Is this good? There we go. We're all wearing antlers. Okay, let's do this. Okay. I expect all of you in the chat to be doing this right now. Okay. So here we go. From the 16th century to the men's rights activists, the history of the insult, cuckold. This is great. These days, the greatest insult a so-called men's rights activist, well, it's a little bit more. Now this is like when did this come out? 2017. Okay. So maybe this is a little dated. Is to call a man is the word cuck, shortened from cuckold. The term for a man whose wife is cheating on him. Well, we already know that's we can expand that definition. We're human beings. We can make words mean more than they are. The word has entered the mainstream, particularly after Donald Trump's presidential victory. This was again 2017. Saw an alt-right backlash against the achievements of feminism. But the ideas and language are nothing new. In fact, it was during the Renaissance. From the 16th to the 18th century that Europe had a cultural obsession with cuckoldry. Back then, it was widely believed that women were more lustful than men, and probably maybe rightly so, largely because they were subject to the whims of their wandering womb. Say that 3 times fast. The womb, it was believed, could move independently around a woman's body, causing her to lose control. Thus, if a man were married, his wife was obviously cheating on him. if he was married, the infidelity would cause the poor husband to grow invisible horns, the ultimate symbol of cuckoldry, and the comic figure of the horned cuckold made its way into fictional songs, engravings, and theater. It eventually became so ubiquitous that to give the impression of a brotherhood of cuckoldry, wherein all wives were adulterous and all husbands hapless fools. Yeah, and this is funny because I remember reading this back in the day because I have done Shakespearean acting before. There you go. I'm a nerd. In Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, which I have been in, a play all about love, marriage, and deception, Benedict jokes about never getting married because it means instant cuckolding. Now, would you like me to read this to you in perfect Shakespearean iambic pentameter? I could. No, I won't. Give me the super chat. I'll do it. The anxiety around paternal lineage due to a cheating wife are obvious in this naming. Cuckoos, of course, don't have horns. Okay, this is here it was. The basis of the word cuckold is found in the cuckoo, a bird which lays its eggs in other birds' nests, forcing the unsuspecting bird to raise the offspring, which are not his own. Again, this is the root of this. The cuckoo bird lays eggs in another nest so that someone else will assume the parental investment responsibilities of the cuckoo, right? So there you go. Countless explanations have been offered for the link between horns and cuckoldry, such as the 18th century German print Henri Begrabnussen, Cuckold's Graveyard, which suggests a whole panoply of horned animals as the bestial source. There you go. Let's see. The ox, a castrated bull, alludes to the impotence of the wronged husband. Oddly enough, that's what we call the guy who's the third party in all of this. Playing the fool, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I digress. I will bore the living shit out of you with history lessons, so I won't do that right now. But yes, you're correct. Now, cuckoldry, again, it can be retroactive, it can be proactive. So, super sticker, thank you. I don't know what it was, but I imagine it was good. I like super stickers when I can see them. I would theorize men have a cuck jealousy response even after a breakup when seeing her with another man. Strong evolved protection. Very good. That was actually a point that I had in my notes here that I was going to get to. In fact, it's something that Tim Burkhead talks about in Promiscuity. Now, this may or may not be you, but I have had several guys who I have counseled over the years who simply cannot get over their one-itis. And usually these guys, like somebody asked me, I think it was last week, they said, Rolo, is there a male parallel to the alpha widow dynamic? And the answer is yes. It's called one-itis. It's called the soulmate myth, but like we call it one-itis, catching feels, right? She's the one. I'll never get a girl as good as her ever again, Rolo. What am I going to do? Oh, woe is me. Men have guys who have a low, guys who don't fuck, right? Guys who have a low opportunity threshold for meeting new women and to get a chick is like fucking moving heaven and earth, right? Guys who don't have sexual opportunity, when they get that, when one of the 80%ers, one of the guys who essentially is what our good Evo Psych gatekeepers would call a fast track versus a slow track life plan. These guys are the slow life, the slow lifers. Okay, these are the guys who have to fight for every piece of pussy that they can possibly get. Right? These dudes, when they finally hit pay dirt, when they finally get with that chick, you'll never meet a more self-righteous son of a bitch. But also, they are the guys who take it to the nth degree when it's time for a breakup. And the reason for this is exactly what you're saying here, is a strong evolved protection. It's not so much protection, it's ROI, return on investment. It's loss of investment. And not only is it loss of investment, it is also opportunity loss. Now, I'm putting this in sort of like nuts and bolts of the mechanics of all of this. Guys aren't going to say, oh, I can't believe I lost my investment on this. Like, no, it's because you want to get pussy and the pussy's going away. Now, the other thing is that one of the reasons that cuckold jealousy response after a breakup is so devastating to these guys is because there's also a biological component to this as well. So all of the good juju and all of the good endorphins, and people say dopamine, but it's really endorphin. All of the good chemical cocktail that you feel when she's sucking your dick, or you're in love, or you're infatuated with that girl, and all of those good feel, those pro-human feelings that you have, all those are gone, removed, whipped away. So now not only are you looking at opportunity cost, loss, you're also looking at the fact that you can't restart the good feels anymore that you were essentially addicted to. Now, some people, and I know that I don't have the stats, or I don't have the data to do this, but I've seen TED Talks about this. Women are, that chemical cocktail that you feel when you're shooting your load, or you're fucking your wife or your girlfriend or whatever that you're really in love with. And it's that much more intense for guys who don't have that kind of opportunity. Often they don't fuck a lot of chicks, so they have to invest in one chick. When that one chick pulls up stakes and she goes on and she goes out, fucks another dude, right? That combined with the chemical aspect, like that is almost like chemically similar to like heroin or cocaine or some shit. You remove that, and those guys lose their shit. So now not only are you dealing with the cuck and jealousy response, you're also dealing with the withdrawal symptoms that are coming from like the dopamine that the guy used to get. And guess what? Now he sees his bitch with some other dude fucking her. Like I've had guys that, maybe this is you, maybe it's not, but I've had guys tell me, Rolo, I can't get this image out of my head of her fucking this other guy. And I'm like, did you actually see them fucking? No. Is there any pictures on Instagram of the two? No. So this is all your imagination? Yes. And I can't get the image out of my head. I'm like, so this is an image you concocted in your own brain of her fucking this other guy. And like, this is what's like sort of like motivating you to like, I don't know, go lift heavier than you should in the gym. Yes. That's the level. That's the OCD level of it, because it's, they're looking down a barrel of the gun, man. They're looking down the barrel of of future rejection, actually having to go out and generate another, like, I'll never find a girl as hot as her, as wonderful as her, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, with that attitude, I'm sure you won't. But where that's coming from is a combination of the jealousy instinct, which is an evolved part of our mental firmware, and mate guarding. That's where the imagery comes from. And also the chemical cocktail that comes with this. So that's a powerful combination. You want to know why guys would go and off their ex-wives and their kids and everything. We just had an incident like this in Las Vegas not too long ago. It was over here in Summerlin. It was a guy who was an attorney. It just happened. Like, it was like a month ago or 2 months ago. It was right out by Aaron Clary, as a matter of fact, out by where he lives out here. It's not Summerlin, but in that vicinity, right? It's a pretty affluent, high rent place. And it was an attorney and the chick that he was representing in her divorce. And through the course of the divorce, the attorney gets with the chick, the divorcee, and the guy who was the ex-husband came and gunned down his ex-wife and the attorney, because the dude was just like, and then offed himself as in addition. And people go, oh, I can't believe they would do that. How insane is that? It's not insane when you think about the chemical cocktail and the jealousy response. And, the guy feels like he's a cuckold anyways, whether he is or he isn't. But the guy who's banging his wife is the same guy that probably took him to the cleaners in the divorce. So, Chris Rock, I ain't saying he should have done it, but I understand. How much of porn is revealing people's desires versus creating them? Modern women are into sex as a subject, but not as an activity. Are you sure about that? Because that's the thing that got me when I was sort of like looking through the cuckold kink stuff right here. Is it's one thing to have, people keep telling me, well, women have fantasies. It doesn't mean that they're going to actually do anything. I just recently, there's new data that just came out. Rob Henderson was even reporting on this, or tweeting it out anyways, is that women by and large seek out violent porn way more than men do. And yet, and to the point where it's grape fantasy porn, or it's violent in hostile, like rough sex, right? Like, women seek that shit out in such numbers that it will shock you. And in fact, that was the whole report thing. Now, of course, Rob didn't want to tweet this out because he says, I know these misogynist assholes in the manosphere are just going to take this and run with it. I will be gentle, Rob. The first thing that anyone's going to say is, well, that's fantasy. They don't really want that. Yeah, but it's a pretty consistent fantasy. Okay. Like, if you look at romance novels and you look at the formula for romance novels, there's a reason why 50 Shades of Grey went in less than a year by it was 50 Shades of Grey. I had the stats in my book Religion. 50 Shades of Grey, and hopefully if memory serves here, March of 2013 is when it came out, and from March to the following year, to December 31st of that year, 65 million units sold. And less than 10 months? Yeah. 10 months. 65 million. And by the way, self-published, not on Penguin or Harlequin or Simon & Schuster. No, it's self-published. That's the God book for Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. For Amazon Prime, that's what they're waiting for. Another 50 Shades of Grey. And that's important. You know why? Because all the success of that book was from word of mouth. Hey, have you read this? That's what it was. It was a sensation, and people lost their shit. Why? Because it had the dark elements to it, the dark triad character, and it was more or less kind of like hostile. I don't know if I would really call 50 Shades of Grey is it BDSM? Maybe it is, but it's definitely what I think most people would consider violent porn, right? Because they want it. Do they want to engage in it? Well, they certainly do to the tune of 65 million units for 50 Shades of Grey. So people always say, oh, well, women can separate fantasy from reality. Okay, well, fine. But then explain to me the cuckold kink. And I'm going to here in just a moment. Still trying to work my way through these. Sorry. Let's see. Also, could also be fantasizing about being the guy she's cheating with. Possibly. I've got a video here for you guys to look at that might change your mind. Woman told me that her coworker told her there are multiple women told her that they named their kid after past dudes, alpha widows. I'll be damned. You're right. Thank you. If you wonder what Derek's going on about, it's the I think this is more common or we're more aware of it in the internet age, but it's women who are alpha widowed, meaning that they're still pining for the guy that was the one that got away, the guy that really fucked them real good in college and everything, but they settled for the good, dutiful beta in when they're 29, 30, 31 years old. They're still pining for that guy. So their way of getting him is, or still keeping him like in memory, is to name their sons after the name of the guy who was their alpha widow. And more guys are discovering that, like, why did you name our son David? There's no one in your dad's not named David. No one else is named David. Well, how, is this a family thing? What is this? No. And then her sister gets drunk one night and says, I can't believe you named your kid after that guy back in college. It's David. Fuck. He was pretty hot. What is he, a helicopter pilot? Hey, what's up, man? Hey, you know what? I gotta give you, what should you do for this? There you go.
Thank you very much. Can I be in charge for a while?
Why does memes, Cuck, Bitcoin, and Sol Bitcoin? Why does meme coins? Why does meme coin? Dude, I know you speak English, but I know English is a second language for you, but yes, go buy more Kittenheimer. Buy Kittenheimer. Oh, and then what was the other one? Sank. Get Sank. What was the other one besides that? Kittenheimer, Sank, Ponke, meme coins. The age of the stable coin is over. The age of the meme coin is now. Oh, wait, there you are. Sorry, my bad. There will always be plenty of cucks and simps. Okay, well, thank you for making that a super chat so everybody can see for sure. Try 55. Thanks for whatever that was. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Rolo. Been reading and listening to your work since 22. Since you were 22, now I'm 26. Much better off. William, thank you. Please go put that on Twitter. Please go. You know what you can do, Will? Please write me a good review on Amazon. Well, I'm almost at 10,000 reviews on the first book. I had 150 letters today. I'm living in a safe country, but now my home is in a war. I have been watching the video you've made about moving on, and it did really help me a lot. Thank you, Rolo. Well, you're welcome, Omar. I don't know what country you are in, but stay safe, my friend. Brother, man. That Billy Goat was an issue too, but no one talks about that. Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Assuming that's actually you. Actually, that's probably not you. Well, maybe it is. There's Ryan. Here you go. No, that's not Ryan. Sorry. Lisa Sparks, really? Are we on the are we trolling Lisa Sparks again as Ryan Stone? There we go. There it is. Hey Rolo, what's your favorite Slipknot album? Got Subliminal Voices. It has to be that one. I mean, there's good ones before that, but what was the one? Pulse of the Maggots. I forget the name of the album that was on. Subliminal Verses. It's 2005. Does that count? I think so. I mean, for Slipknot, it's the most commercially viable, but like I know I like it. Subliminal Verses. Rational Agent. There we go. Now I finally caught up. So as a conclusion, if the dual mate, all right, hold on. So as a conclusion, if the dual mating strategy, cuckoldry, can't be defeated by society or law, can we influence the firmware of the mate? Yeah. For example, that the conscious levels keeps the unconscious levels in check because of losing the current relationship. It would have to be, okay, well, in that, the way you're putting it, the relationship would have to be so valuable that it would be like, it would be second thought. It would be a second nature. I would say, okay, so it's already been It's already like the evolved mental firmware that predisposes men to feel a jealousy response, or to, I can't get it out of my head, like to concoct like images in their own brains. The evolutionary firmware that we use for mate guarding is firmware. Okay. It's what our ancestors had. Like, men have an instinctual, like, we don't even realize we're doing it. We have an instinct for mate guarding. Have you ever seen a guy, like, I brought this up when I was going over some pictures of Anthony Bourdain at one point, but like, have you seen pictures of a guy or a couple, and the couple is, what? One of these days, I'm just gonna. I do have my audio input for my my guitar here. I could plug here, and I bet I could put my neural DSP on, and you probably still hear it. So, anyways, the mate guarding response, the jealousy response, the everything that makes cuckoldry sort of the like, it gives you the, what am I doing? All of that is firmware. Can you override that with software? That's exactly what I was criticizing Dr. Jeffrey Miller about, because essentially what he's doing is he knows the evolved jealousy response. He knows about mate guarding instincts, and yet still wants to, in some way, like, overwrite the firmware that's pretty much has a function, because men want to know that the child is theirs. We want to ascertain paternity. Okay. Anyway, as I say, the mate guarding instinct. Have you ever seen like guys who, like in their pictures with their girlfriend or something, they have like their arm over her like this, and she's just kind of like, kind of smiling, kind of sheepishly smiling. That's what's called an arm bar, and it's a mate guarding instinct for guys to just sort of like, or holding hands is a mate guarding instinct. You can take the mate guarding instinct to like the extreme. Some people will say, and you guys can determine who, but they're theoretically speaking, like Muslims needing to put their women in hijabs and burqas and niqabs is a form of mate guarding. Like, you don't get to look at this person because this is my bitch, and I don't want her. I think that's probably like, if Instagram and showing off your ass with like next to no clothes, you're in a piece of fishnet, right? If that's one end of the spectrum, then like the hijab or the niqab or the burqa is like the other opposite of that. Like, it's advertising. Is this woman sexually available? Is she not sexually available? Well, if she's covered head to toe in black cloth, how do you even know that she's, hot or not? Well, the opposite of that, of course, is Instagram for women right now. So it's like, who is, oh, Jesus Christ. I know this ain't him, so I'm just going to put him out. There we go. Bye. Yeah. Anthony Bourdain from the thumbnail 3 years ago. Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah. Let me let's dive in here real quick. I have some other things to address. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I don't want to give you the echo here. I'm going to show the clip with Bevo and Andrew here, and I want you guys to. So I'm going to let them roll for a little bit, but I'm going to riff on this just a little bit. Now you have to bear with me. I have to do this. I have to feed this through StreamYard, because Brian, I love you, but why the fuck are you doing like 7 hour and 20 minutes live streams with this many chicks? I know why, because they're basically farming super chats. I get it. That's what keeps the show afloat. But 7 hours, dude, I would never do that to any of the girls on even 4 hours would be pushing it for Access Vegas. Now, this is from the guy who does live streams on, what are we all? We're almost at hour 2 right now. This is from the guy who does, live, Ned's sleeping. Who does live streams for, 4, let me stop lying, 4 and 5 hours sometimes, right? But dude, I do that solo. I'm boring Ned. Okay. But other than that, I don't know why anybody would, I don't know. That seems kind of cruel. But this is like a 7 hour podcast. And so I had to really kind of dig in. And the reason why this is why I didn't download it, because if I downloaded this and like I hosted it from my system, it's like almost a 5 gigabyte file. So I'm just going to flow it from YouTube here and hope for the best. So I have it queued up. And I think, where'd it go? This one. Now, hopefully the audio also share tab audio. No, there you go. Okay, here we go. I think this should work. I have it queued up now. Let me push this out here a little bit. I'll bring myself down. There we go. All right. So the dude is in the middle of there, and yes, he does look like Scourge from Ice Age. I got you. The blonde that's next to him is his girlfriend, and they do OnlyFans together. And essentially, the way he makes money is he lets her get railed by other dudes, more or less. And of course, that kind of triggers the jealousy and that kind of ick response in Andrew. Now, Andrew leans more into the moralism side of things there, so just bear that in mind. What do you got here? What advice would you give to someone who suspects their partner may be interested or involved in cuckolding? Let's come back to that later. I'm going to star that and hold on to it. Don't worry. Now I can come back to it. All right. Very good. Okay. Yeah, I know. He's a grim human being. Okay.
So we're both young and we're in an open relationship. So I don't believe in God. I will clarify that. I've always said that I would never be a slave to a religion. I believe God is money, and without money, I am doomed. So you can believe in God and all you want, but if you've got no money, God ain't going to feed you. God ain't going to clothe you. God ain't going to be there for you. You can pray as much as you want, but God isn't going to help you. I need to make money. If I have to do what I've got to do to make money, I will do it.
Okay. Wait, Andrew, before you get into that, let me allow
I'm not going to get into it. I was just saying.
Okay. Let me introduce it a little bit more. And then Sophia,
I'm going to push this up just a little bit because I think it starts around 2:34.
There. My bad. Go ahead.
So if I'm trying to recall correctly,
you guys are in a relationship yourselves, like a romantic relationship between each other.
Yeah, openly we sleep with other people as well, but romantically we're together. Yes.
Okay, so you consider her your girlfriend, but you don't consider other girls your girlfriend. You just consider other girls that you sleep with.
Yes.
Sex toys.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Sex toys.
You are a cuck.
Define a cuck, please.
A cuck is a person who purposely allows their women to get fucked by other men.
For money, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wait.
Okay. So let's go back. Let's return back to our definitions here. Not incorrect. Okay. We already read the definition from Wikipedia. That's definitely a part. But again, what's the functional definition of a cuckold? It's a guy who's taking care of and assuming the responsibilities, the parental investment responsibilities of another man's child. Now, to my knowledge, these two here they don't have any kids. There's no, there's no children involved. He's not taking care of any kids that aren't his. Now, the possibility exists that there could be. Ned's trying to get up. A possibility that it could, but see, here's the thing is like when you focus on the idea of like somebody's fucking your chick, right? Somebody's fucking your chick. Well, Bevo crosses the line and says, well, he brings it back to Andrew and says, you do realize that you're probably not the first person to tap your wife's ass before you got there, right? And of course, that kind of edges him over into like sort of a more emotional state, which I think he would probably admit to that. And not unexpectedly, but the definition, once again, not necessarily a guy who, lets other people fuck his chick, but a guy who assumes the parental investment responsibilities of another man's child. That is a cuckold. That's the definition that was drawn from the cuckoo bird. Remember, put the egg in someone else's nest and let them take care of that little bastard, right? So let's go.
You wouldn't let her sleep with other men if they weren't paying her?
No, they're not paying her. Let's get that right. We make content. We get paid for content. So, yes, we involve other people because it makes more money. And again, that's why I allow it. Again, romantically, yes, when we're 30 years old with a child and we slow down with all the money we've got in the bank, we can live happily ever after. So, yes.
So you do let other men fuck your woman on purpose,
yeah, and
right?
she lets me fuck other women.
Sure. I understand that.
Yeah.
But you would be a cuck, correct?
I just don't like that saying. But
okay, technically, no. that wouldn't make him a cuck. It would make him in an open relationship. It would be, I mean, you would have to like, you'd have to also, if that's the case, you would also have to like say, well, is Destiny a cuck? Like when he was in the video in the very beginning of all this, is he sitting in the chair watching some big bull fuck his wife? Right. To my knowledge, I don't think these two are married, but they're in a romantic relationship. So I would presume they're like boyfriend and girlfriend of some sort. Like they have some sort of commitment. So maybe that is what's sort of rubbing Andrew the wrong way here. But in this case, I think it's not so much cuckoldry as it is like innate mate guarding jealousy. Is that your bitch? Yeah. Okay. Well, then why like you're letting somebody else bang your woman? And the guy's like, I think what's interesting is like Andrew has sort of like one response to shit like this, which is, let's talk about God. Let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about let's talk about morality. Okay. You don't need to go there. You can very easily like break this down that has in ways that has nothing to do with morality, but I don't know. I think he probably just has, that's the only places he goes like sort of by default.
We do it.
I mean, I'm sure you don't, but I mean, that's what a cuck is somebody who lets another man purposely fuck their woman, right? That's a cuck.
Yeah, if I'm a cuck, I'm a cuck. Yeah,
I don't think Andrew's trying to insult you. I think he's
I'm just trying to clarify it.
Again, I don't. It's
No,
what it is, isn't it?
No, the insults come later.
Again, we're young. We're probably in a better position than you was when you was 23. Again, no throwing shade, but I just don't feel like being a slave to a religion is going to get you anywhere in life. It's good praying, it's good doing your thing, but I just want to live life, earn money, and
I mean, it's way better to let people fuck your old lady. All self-respecting men do that.
Yeah, but sex is just sex. Again, I think it's like you take
money is just money.
Yeah, but
money gets you places.
Money gets you places. Sex don't.
Where does money get you?
Money.
Does it get you to a place where other men fuck your old lady?
Yeah.
Is that where it gets you?
Yeah, it takes.
See here. Okay, so now this is where it's kind of like, this is where the rebuking comes, right? This is sort of like the moralistic rebuke him kind of thing, and again, you don't need to go there. That's the problem. Is like you could like tear this guy down just like point by point, but instead it's going to be like, well, no self-respecting man would do it. And so what's going to happen next? And Andrew, I love you because like Andrew likes to say he's just having a debate. He's just having a debate. Well, this is what's known as a logical fallacy in a debate. So let's keep going.
To be on flights, it takes me to buy a house. To buy a house, it takes me to buy a car. It takes me to buy the jewelry I've got on. It takes me to buy the clothes I've got on. So if I believe in God and I'm poor,
that's really expensive money to allow the person that you're in love with to get dishonored by other men.
We enjoy it.
You enjoy what you? Okay, so now we're in a different level. So you enjoy the fact that your old lady.
Okay, so now we're talking about dishonor. Now we're talking like why even go there? Because like I'll tell you this, I've heard Andrew talk about like secular marriage isn't really real marriage. Like why are we even promoting marriage for secular couples? Because if there's no God involved and there's no religion involved, and in this case probably just his religion, but if there's no religion involved in that union, then like what's the big deal, right? If you don't think that their union is any way valid because they're not the same religion as you, then what they do to turn a buck is what they do. So like notions of honor and respectability and all this other shit, that's just like, that's just shaming is what it is. It's just shaming language. And maybe they need it, right? Maybe that's, I know it plays very well to the audience. But the thing is, like I said, again, there's so many ways you could have gone with this too. It's like, I hate this because like I see missed opportunities and it like next to every other sentence in this.
Lady gets fucked by
I enjoy sex. She enjoys sex. Other people enjoy sex. So why not? Let's just have fun.
So do you enjoy the fact that she's getting humped by other men?
I don't enjoy it. We just do it. We get on with it. We have fun. Yeah, well, I enjoy it. Yeah, I do enjoy it because it's.
You do enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever watch it? Do you ever watch other dudes plow your chick, dude?
I don't watch the videos back, but in the action, I'm watching. Yeah, it's quite horny to be honest.
Okay. Now, okay, at the beginning of this show, what did I say? I said, look, when you're the reason I had a problem with Dr. Jeffrey Miller and everything is because the concept is this. Cuckolding only works, or open relationships, or polyamory, or thruples, or whatever it is, whoever's fucking who, right? The only way that works is if you can eroticize the jealousy instinct. If you can find some way to turn, but anything can become normal, okay? Like you can see some pretty gnarly ass shit that people find as fetishes and kinks and stuff like that. You have to get past, like, for a lot of this stuff, you have to get past what's known as the human revulsion response, right? People who get off on, like, you know, God, I hate to even bring this up, but like scat porn, or guys who get off on like shit that's like just disgusting. Actually, like, you're just like horrified that anybody could get like could get a boner off of this stuff. Like, I don't, for instance, I don't understand like foot fetishes for whatever, but that's not what I'm talking about. You have to get over that revulsion. You have to get past this normal instinctual revulsion that you would have for something in order for that to become eroticized. That's very much the same dynamic that is at play when it comes to jealousy, when it comes to mate guarding. If you can find a way to eroticize that mate guarding instinct or that jealousy instinct, and that's where this guy's at. That's where Bevo is. He's not going to. It's at that point that there's no way that Andrew is going to be able to shame this guy, because he does. He's like, yes, I do get off on this. Yes, this is hot to me. Yes, and I make a lot of money at this. Awesome. You want to know why so many women are completely shameless when it comes to like OnlyFans? It's because they've gotten past the point of that shame. So you telling them you should be ashamed of doing what you're doing, they moved past that like months, maybe years ago. So trying to bring them back to that point is like next to impossible. And as I said, missed opportunity. I know what he's trying to do, and he could do it in a much more efficient way, but he kind of like screws the pooch here by resorting to sort of like name calling and ad homs.
So you get off to it?
Well, it's horny, yeah. In the act, yeah. If I'm sleeping with someone else and she's sleeping with someone else, and yeah, it's just horny. It
sounds like you're the slave.
Nah,
it sounds like I'm free and you're the slave. You know what I never have to worry about? I never have to worry about another dude fucking my old lady.
Okay. What Andrew just did there is a logical fallacy. It's called presuming the point. Okay. Whereas the solution to the argument is inherent in the question. Okay. So he presumes that there's a presumption. I forget the name. What is it? I'm just not bandwagoning. Is it appeal to, I think it's appeal to popularity or something like that. The one thing that I notice in Andrew, and again, this is me like giving Andrew, if you're watching, constructive criticism here. One thing that you do, Andrew, is you presume the point. That's a logical fallacy. You presume the point. You presume that everybody agrees with you. Everybody, at least I don't have to worry about dishonoring my wife and blah, blah, blah. Well, he doesn't care. There's nothing there. Like everything that you think he ought to feel shame for, it's completely shameless, right? And so there's this idea that you're making this appeal to like sort of mass popularity and everything like that. It's simply not there. And, you know, as far as like throwing out, what he's going to throw out here next, right? What he's got to up to this point is based on like mass appeal. He presumes people follow along with him. He presumes that he's in the right. He presumes that this is the way everyone thinks. Well, clearly not. Probably people even sitting at that table don't agree with his universal. That is the premise of his begging the question. Presuming the point, presuming that what he's saying is true. And so if this is true, then everything else that comes after that is. So he is a cuck. Yeah, I'm not saying he's not. But the thing is, he doesn't know and doesn't really care what a cuck is. And on top of that, Andrew is actually the cuck here in a retroactive sense, because he is, and he'll admit to this, he is taking care of the children that are not his. That is a definition of a cuckold as well. Now, am I going to sit there and go, well, at least I don't have to worry about like my wife, and you know, I know my kids are my own. I'm like, why would I even bring that up? Why would that even be a thing? But he's going to bring this around. Let's see if I can bring this full circle
here. At my behest, because I'm not a slave to my lust. And I never have to worry about the fact that I can make an honorable buck because I'm not a slave to the money either. It sounds like you're the slave. No. It sounds like I'm the one who's free.
No, definitely not. Again, I was a slave when I done my demolition. I was getting up at stupid o'clock, getting paid bad money. And then, yeah, now I'm living life, I'm doing social media full time. I do content full time. I've got a beautiful woman by my side that I'm going to marry and have kids with one day. And yeah, if we enjoy sex, why not? Well, what's the big deal? Sex is sex. Adam and Eve had sex, so what's the big deal?
Well, I didn't say that sex is the big deal. The big deal is whether or not you have what is considered virtue and honor. Other men,
Who cares about honor in 10 years' time?
Well, I'm going to explain it to you if you want the answer.
Yes, Karen.
Other men are always going to see you as a cuck. They're going to see you as less than a man. And the reason they're going to see you as less than a man is because you purposely allow other men to bone your chick.
Okay. That once again, this is begging the question. This is presuming the point. The solution, the argumentative point is part of the actual question, right? So what he's saying is like, well, this is the way things are in Andrew land, and you're not doing what should be done in Andrew land, and therefore you're dishonorable and disrespectful, and you're the slave and I'm not. And see, the problem is that we're getting into you get into murky waters when it comes to like combining the jealousy response and the mate guarding response with morality. And that's the hell, it's in the 10 commandments. Thank you, Jim Sexton. It's in the 10 commandments twice, right? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not commit adultery. It's in there twice. Okay. If you look at things like the 10 commandments, if you look at things that are like sort of religious proscriptions, things that are like, don't do this, right? These are the rules, right? Most of those are based on basic human instincts, on basic like things that have, at least in our evolved past, have served us very well. Why shouldn't you fuck another man's wife? Well, God said so. Okay, well, fine. But there's also a latent purpose to that. Because if you're fucking another man's wife, then you're going to be, we don't know who the kids are. Then we don't know, you're triggering mate guarding response, you're triggering jealousy, all this shit, all this really bad shit happens if you covet your neighbor's wife. If you're banging your neighbor's wife, you're committing adultery, a lot of bad shit happens. But I want to fuck. I want to fuck. I want that chick, right? Or like when you look at like the 7 deadly sins, like greed, pride, avarice, gluttony. Gluttony's a good one, right? Every one of those quote unquote 7 deadly sins maps onto a basic evolved human dynamic, right? Lust. Okay, well, I think that's pretty obvious. Gluttony. Well, yeah, you're overeating. You're this is a bad thing, right? But like it's a good thing if you're living in hunter-gatherer tribes, on the sub-Saharan African savannah, 100,000 years ago. That's great. Why do we want, we want to know why like we're so obese right now and the US population is so overweight? It's because it's what's called evolutionary mismatch. And so when we say, well, don't be a glutton, don't be like, well, the Lord says, don't be a fat fuck, right? No, I'll go with that. I'm happy that that's in the Bible, or whatever. But as far as gluttony being a sin, yeah, but it should. But like the latent purpose of it is you're going to end up being a fat fuck. And then a lot of things happen if you're a fat fuck, right? You get diabetes, you got, heart disease, all that other good shit, right? What was this? Proverbs 6:32. Thank you, Sam, who is my resident scriptural expert. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. Lacketh. Oh, it's real if it's King James Version, right? He that doeth it destroyeth his own. His own what? Oh, destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy and is the rage of a man. Therefore, he will not spare in the day of vengeance. Meaning, you're gonna get your ass kicked, more or less. That's real. Thank you for that. I didn't leave it to Sam Bada to come up with that one. Okay, thank you, Sammy. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the 7 deadly sins, if you look at especially like basic like morality, like sort of Judeo-Christian. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say Judeo, Abrahamic religion, prohibitions and stuff like that. It all tracks on, and it's pretty much true of other religions too. All tracks on to basic human instincts, Of course we want, was it remember on Wall Street, right? I even have an intro of this. Greed, for lack of a better term, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. And I think that people will really have a real problem. Like maybe they just don't understand it well enough, but I think a lot of the more moralistic tradcons who want to say, oh, I like Rollo's stuff, I think he's great, there's a lot of red pill crossover in Christianity and blah, blah, blah. Christianity is the real red pill. They maybe they just don't understand it well enough, but like when I start talking about mental point of origin, I have to keep hammering that one home, because people keep saying, well, you're supposed to die to yourself. Well, it's like, was it ego is the enemy? People asked me that before. They said, what did you mean when you said, Rollo, that you can't kill your ego? Well, the thing is if you killed your ego, you'd be dead, because that's part of that's the triumvirate, right? If you believe, by the way, let me see if I can explain this a little bit Freudian terms. If you say ego is the enemy, or you say ego is you need to die to your ego or something like that. If you use the word ego, women have overinflated egos. Congratulations, you've just accepted a Freudian principle, whether you knew it or not, because that's where it comes from. It comes from the concept of id, ego, and superego. And if you're going to accept ego, guess what? I don't care if it's in a Jungian form either, because Jung was the protege of Sigmund Freud. So if you're going to go with ego, we also have to accept the id, and you have to accept the superego on top of that too. So when we're talking about, you got to die to ego. Well, the problem is if you killed your ego, the only thing you would have left is your id and your superego. Okay. So your id is basically your hedonistic child inside of you. It's like, I want what I want, and I want it now. It's instant gratification. It's really rooted, like philosophically anyways, it's rooted to your basic needs, your basic instincts. I want to fuck. I want to fight. I want food. I want pleasure. I want what I want when I want it right now. The id is just like the hot guy in the foam cannon party, man. The id is hedonism, unrestrained, unfettered hedonism. And the ego is the part of that equation that says, okay, well, I know you want that now, but we can't have that now. We got to do this. We got to think of the future. We can't do that because we'll get, we'll end up in jail if you go and you kill this guy, even though you really, I want to kill him. I want to kill him. No, we can't do that. The ego is there sort of as a buffer. The super ego, of course, is the higher self, right? It's like the more moralistic side of things. I'm just giving you the basic bonehead rundown of this. So when people ask me about that, I got a question on the neck about that not too long ago. People said, what do you mean by you would die if you lost your ego? Because the only thing that would be left, at least in the Freudian equation, is the id and the superego. And you would be really fucked if that was the case. So these notions of like dying to your ego and everything else, you're never going to do that because you have self-interest. We have our survival instinct is intimately tied to our egos. We want to stay alive. I mean, unless you go, you get real suicidal or something like that. You need your ego. Ego is good. Unchecked, like crazy, like overblown, stupid poser ego. Yeah, okay. I completely understand. But ego is good. You need it. A healthy ego is intrinsic to a healthy personality. So when I hear people say, you need to die to your ego, take that shit back to The Secret, man. Take that shit back to astrology or wherever the fuck you found it, okay? And that's if you accept the Freudian notion of personality. So what do you say here? Should we have compassion and sympathy for cucks? That's a judgment call. I'm not here to give you a judgment call. I'm not going to tell you what's bad or what's good. Now, if you're asking me for my opinion, I'll be happy to give it to you. But you're asking, should. I don't deal in shoulds. Okay. I don't give you prescriptions. Should we have compassion and sympathy for cucks? Personally, me? No. They are low-value genetic males who are trying to gain access to the mating mark. They are low. Okay, so are they low-value genetic males who? Oh, Jesus Christ, man, dude, like finish your ESL classes and then come back. Access to the mating marketplace. Well, here's the thing that you want to know. One of the reasons why people hate PUA so much, like pickup artistry so much, is because it gives. It's like stolen valor. Okay, the concept of stolen valor. Like if I say, yeah, my name is Captain Rollo Tomasi of the U.S. Air Force, and boy, I spent 7 years, or I don't know how long. 8 years, 8 years in the Air Force, and I flew, what does he say? KC 135s. That's what I did. Like if I said that, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here. That's Mike Sartain, right? That's stolen valor. A similar concept happens when guys who are like legitimate alphas, or guys who think that they should be considered legitimate alpha guys, see a guy who looks like Mystery. And Mystery goes and puts on a top hat, and he puts on a feather boa, and he's got fucking black nail polish, and he's got a big he's in elevator boots, and he's got a fucking LED sign across his t-shirt. This is Mystery, and LED dot matrix letters, right? And people go, how the fuck, who would fuck this guy? And apparently a lot of chicks, right? That dude is getting more pussy than you are. Well, he can't possibly be doing that because I'm an alpha male. I got a good job. I went to college. I go to church. I don't let other people fuck my wife. I'm an upstanding, pro-social, good, contributing member of society. And you get no pussy. And he does. Well, how can that possibly be? Well, he must be cheating. Like when people come at me and they go, Rolo, you're taking TRT. You know what they're saying? You're cheating. Rolo, yeah, guys on gear, like, oh, you're taking Anavar, you're taking, I don't know, T-Pro or whatever, Deca, you're cheating. Yeah, and if I put my eyes, I can't see jack. Like if I take out my glasses, right now, I'm not cheating. I'm blind as that now. I can actually see. I can see the thing, but like, let's just say, for example, I couldn't. Right? Am I cheating by doing this? Hey, that's cheating. Nobody cares, right? Well, of course, everybody needs glasses because they're by the level to which women respond to certain cheats. That's when the intensity of that cheat becomes something that is shamed. So, for example, I think it was, what was I watching? I was watching this documentary on Netflix, and it was called Unnatural Selection. And it was all about gene editing. And it's like, that's how I knew about, mRNA, gene split or gene CRISPR engines is what it was. It's a very fascinating documentary that came out in 2019, right before 2020. And there's an ethics section to this documentary, right? And the idea was that we don't want to have designer children. Like, why not? Why wouldn't we want to have designer children? What if I want my kids to have blue eyes and blonde hair and be sort of like, Hitler master race or some shit like that? Why can I not do that? Why is it unethical to do that? Or why is it unethical to wipe out a species of mosquitoes that through making them sterile or whatever through gene editing? And then we can reduce the incidence of dengue fever or malaria or something like that. Why wouldn't we do that? Same thing goes for why wouldn't you if you could genetically change reconstruct your eyeballs to have perfect 20/20 vision? Why would you do that? Is it any different than this? I brought this up in my fourth book in religion because I was talking about really technically I was talking about evolutionary mismatch and the ethics that go along with that, right? So if I'm talking about genetic engineering, creating designer babies, it's funny. They in the documentary they were agonizing over whether or not this technology, this new gene editing technology, like Gattaca, right? If you've seen the movie Gattaca, was going to be used to create super babies or designer babies, and I think we really need to put some sort of UN moratorium on this stuff. And but by the time they were done with the documentary, China had already done it because they don't care. They don't care about nothing. And so when everything came out, C-19 and the vaccines and everything else that came out, I was like, I ain't taking that shit because I saw that documentary. And I was like, I don't want you putting that shit in there because even if it was completely harmless, it'd be the precursor to something of a CRISPR engine or a gene socket or some way to re-edit it at a later date. Right? I know enough about that, at least from what I could get from the thing. But it comes back down to if we could find a genetic component to homosexuality, should we edit that out? because they were already talking about like editing out the genes that were responsible for Down syndrome. Should we be able to go in and on the fly genetically re-engineer a baby so that that baby doesn't have Down syndrome and it becomes a normal, regular human being? We just pull, whatever it is, we reconstruct that or pull out that chain, and then the baby's a baby, right? No DNA. Well, I don't know how Down syndrome works, but let's just say we could edit it out. Should we do that? People say, yeah, hell yeah. But then other people say, well, no, then, you don't get like these actors with Down syndrome or something like, oh, we need to let it, sort of nature take its course. Well, we're now the masters of that. So should we do that? It's like Jurassic Park. We are so obsessed with figuring out how we could do something. We never stop to figure out, would we or should we do something? And what we do is when we take that new technology and we take those new things, like one of the reasons why I think Andrew's frustrated with this stuff, because I've seen him frustrated about stuff like this before. It's not even just what Scritch here, Bevo. It's the fact that like he is coming from a sort of a 20th century ideal for marriage and doesn't see how this in the 21st century, see how things have changed. Like when I talk to Aaron Clarion, we talk about how we live in a post-marriage society. Like, oh, people lose their shit. Like I've never, like nobody loses their shit with Aaron Clary. Aaron Clary is just, he's so easy. He's so easygoing and he's just like minimalist, this and everything. You say, you read that part in the menu, in his book, The Menu, that says we live in a post-marriage society. People lose their fucking minds because they want it to be a certain way, because it's in their belief set, because it's in their holy book, or it's in their family values or whatever it is. And if somebody doesn't go again, if somebody has a new take on that, holy shit, man, that's when you get this shit.
Yeah.
So because they consider this to be low virtue, they're always going to consider you to be lesser than them, no matter how poor they are. The poorest man on this planet is always going to consider himself richer than you.
Little Helper 95 donated $200. Andrew is the perfect example of modern Christians, cherry-picking what he follows of God's word based on his own opinions. Treats everyone he disagrees with awful. Berates, belittles, insults.
I haven't belittled anybody. In fact, we've just been arguing our various points. There's no belittlement. Right now, we're engaged in what's called an argument.
Yeah.
So I'm explaining to you.
No, you're not. And I will explain to you why you're not here. Actually, I finally found this in the interim. I hear Andrew use this quite a bit. Like he always defers to say, well, we're having a debate. We're having an argument. Yeah, but the thing is you're using a lot of logical fallacies in your argument. So the one the ones that I want to draw attention to are these ones right here. Argument from omniscience. An arguer who would need omniscience, like see all and know all, to know about everyone's beliefs, disbeliefs, or knowledge. Beware of words like all, everyone, everything, or absolute. Everyone loves football. All of us know that, right? Okay, so that's number one. You could say argument from authority, but that's like the higher authority. Now here's the other one: argument, appeal to faith. Faith, by definition, relies on a belief that does not rest on logic or evidence. Okay, vote with your heart, not with your head. Got it. Appeal to ignorance. Man, I don't think that really. Oh, appeal to the crowd. Here we go. Appeal to the crowd. Ad populum. An argument aimed to sway popular support by appealing to sentimental weaknesses rather than facts and reasons. This is where this is the lost opportunity right here. Often the common man or the common sense provides the basis for the claim. The common man or common sense. Everybody knows that. I wouldn't want men to think lesser of me because everyone thinks lesser of cucks. Well, do they? Do you have stats for that? Are you sure of that? In the 21st century, are we 100% sure of that? Because people are making, and here's the dividing line, I think, when it comes to, let me pull this up real quick. Here's the dividing line that I think happens is, put me back. By relying on these logical fallacies like this, you kind of diminish your case. I know Andrew, his head is in his emotions and his head. His head and his heart are in the right place. I'm 100% on board. But dude, just just all you have to do is just pull yourself out of the moralism, and you win. You will fucking win. It's like when you're debating like abortion or something like that. If you are debating like I told Jedediah Bila this when Jedediah Bila was debating Destiny on abortion, both of them made appeals to emotion rather than appeals to empirical reality, objective truth, objective data. So when I told Jedediah Bila this, I said, look, when you are seeing, if you ever have this instance again, whenever somebody on the sort of liberal pro-choice side of abortion starts talking about, oh, well, what about all the unwanted babies? And what about the orphans? And what about grape, right? What about most liberal progressive arguments when it comes to abortion rely on emotional appeals and like very limited, like it's called whataboutism. It's literally a thing. Whataboutism. What about this thing? Well, turns out that, incidents of 98% of abortions performed are elective. What about grape? Well, in that case, okay, but like it's a fraction of, maybe it's 1% of abortions performed. Okay, so it's sad, I understand, but what about? Well, I got to look at the larger general whole before I start looking at little specifics like that. That's number one. Number two is like, if I told Jedediah, I said, simply ask him this. I said, what is the function of abortion? And most people don't, like, especially on the liberal side, but also on the conservative side, don't question their own epistemology, like the process of them coming to that particular belief. Well, everyone believes that, women should have the right to choose. No, that's an appeal to popularity. That's an appeal to omniscience. So, but what is the purpose? What is the function of abortion? And the answer to that, of course, is that it is a fail-safe for women's bad reproductive choices. You will never hear that come out of a liberal's mouth. You will never hear that come out of a progressive's mouth. It is the function of abortion is to have a get out of jail free card because that woman made a bad reproductive choice. As I've said before, the abortion is the ultimate, or the last expression, or is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. Nothing says that he ain't the right guy like being able to end that guy's genetic legacy in utero. That's it. Point that out and you win. Say this is why it is. So do you think that women should be the sole arbiters of the human reproductive process? And then you can have other more substantive, objective arguments that flow from that one. But you'll never get there if you're like, well, the Lord said it's wrong. Okay, but what's the function? You don't need moralism to win that fucking argument. You just need empirical data and asking the right questions. And you want to know why all these sons of bitches like Alex and Mac and Murphy and the rest of these sons of bitches who are like gatekeepers of what would like to be the gatekeepers of fucking Evo Psych right now, they have such a problem with the red pill. It's not the fact that, oh, they don't get this right, or they get this wrong, or they don't know about this study or that study. You know why they get pissed off and they get upset? And you want to know why I'm on a fucking NGO watch list right now? It's because I ask questions that they don't want to fucking be asked. I ask questions and I connect dots that they are uncomfortable connecting. And the minute it comes out of my, like, I don't got anything to lose. I'm saying, fuck you. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. Like when I'm going to do something, I have to be careful of my words when I'm talking about Andrew, or I'm talking about like Lucario or anybody else, to say, you're good, but let me see if I can help you out a little bit more there. I can barely do that without somebody going, oh, shots fired. I'm not firing any fucking shots. I'm pointing out flaws in the argument. I'm pointing out flaws in the process of it. I'm not trying to be a dick. That's he's your enemy now. Just shut up. No, I'm not. Iron sharpens iron, and this is tough love. This is constructive criticism. So once again, let's move back to the, wait a minute. God damn it. I flipped it. There we go. So that was appeal to faith. The other one was appeals to the crowd, which I think is, and by the way, he's not the only one that does this. A lot of more like God pill guys, ortho bros appeal to the crowd. Then there's this one, and this is another logical fallacy. It's an appeal to tradition. Just because people practice a ritual says nothing about its feasibility. again, what's the function? What's the purpose of this thing? Okay. Begging the question, also making an argument, the conclusion of which is based on an unproven assumption. And those assumptions come from arguments of omniscience, arguments of the appeals to the crowd, right? Similar to the circular reasoning of circular reasoning or a loaded question. Okay, so those are the ones that I wanted to point those out. I like Andrew. I think he probably believes he's earnestly trying to have a real debate. Debate is dead. It has been dead for quite some time. It's nothing but blood sports. If you think you're having a debate on YouTube, I will tell you right now, you're not. You're not having a formal debate. There's no guidelines. There's no topics. There's no time constraints. Like if you go and you look at debate on like on the Congress floor or on the Senate or whatever, they have a specific amount of time that they're allowed to talk shit. And then it's like, would the representative from Tennessee like to opine? I will cede my time on the floor or whatever. Did you guys see that? Was it Andrea Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? And she was getting into it with, was that black girl? And it was like Mean Girls on the fucking in Congress. That's the kind of that middle school that kind of shit is not supposed to happen at the fucking Congress because there's protocol involved. That's the reason why it's something you highlight is because that's usually not the way debate happens. If anyone who's ever taken a college logic course or taken a college debate, have you ever been on the debate team or stuff? The first thing people will do is tear apart your logical fallacies. And so like when I was never on debate team, but I did take debate and logic when I was in college. And like when I see like people making statements and like making, forwarding premises and saying, we're going to have a debate. How come that Rollo Tomasi won't debate me? Because you're not, give me a topic. Tell me what you want to fucking talk about. Come out to Vegas, sit across the street or sit across the table from me. And we'll have it right here. And we can even time it. You can make your point. I'll make my counterpoint. I will respond. I will rebut, whatever. We'll have it back. That's a formal debate. And you know why you'll never see that? Because it's boring as fuck on YouTube, man. They don't want that. People want you to fucking come to blows, man. They want blood. A real, like, fucking college level debate, that's dead, man. It's been dead for a long time. Even our presidential debates are not really debates. It's just like it's basically slinging shit at each other. And then, buy my book. On sale now. You get yours first before Tuesday, and then the price goes up. That's what it is. It's a sales pitch at the end of it. Where we go.
That the poorest man on planet Earth who has a virtuous wife who's loyal to him is always going to consider himself richer than any amount of money that you give yourself based on the fact that you let other men bone your chick. You understand that, right?
Yeah, but again, you're saying poor.
Okay, so do you understand that, right? I understand that that's what you believe. If I was like, okay, so this guy looks like he's fucking half baked already. Like Bevo looks like he's fucking stoned. But if I was a sober Bevo, that would have been my response is I understand that that's what you believe. I don't think that everybody believes exactly. And everyone on planet Earth, you're not omniscient, sir. You can appeal to the crowd all you would like. But here's the thing is like, even when you're looking at like appeals to popularity, I'll tell you right now, I wonder how many people, how much money these two make and the popularity they have. And we're going to talk about clout economics. Again, I'm not trying to defend these guys, but I'm just saying we had to find a way to quantify that or qualify that, right? How much money these guys make off of their OnlyFans? Okay, is that how we can like find a way to qualify or quantify the value of what they do versus the value of what he presumes everybody holds dear to them? I make money in an honorable way. Okay, but you make less money than I do. All right. Well, why? Because more people want to see me fuck this chick or want to see other dudes fuck my girl than they want to listen to you pontificate. So that kind of ruins the whole appeal of the logical fallacy, the appeal to the masses. Again, it presumes a point. It's begging the questions. Like the answer or the point is inherent in the question that he's asking. Everyone believes that, don't you? Am I right? No.
But again, if I'm making money and we enjoy it, what is the problem? I don't care what anyone thinks. I'll get death threats on the daily.
Well,
I don't care.
is, yeah, right. So I mean, if you don't care about virtue,
that's it. If you don't care about virtue, like the rest of us, quantify virtue. Who wins the virtue Olympics? Like, how do I quantify virtue?
if you are a slave to your own sin, your own vice, then you're in what's called pre-lust. And the thing is that shaking you out of pre-lust is next to impossible. You have now told me multiple times the thing which...
Okay. This is no longer a debate. Once you start getting into articles of faith, it is no longer a debate. So let's stop pretending that it is, and let's start calling it what it is. It's sermonizing. So when you get to that point, now I'm just going to let it go from here, because if you want to watch the rest of it, it's very long. There's other parts to it too. I realize that as well, but now you're sermonizing. So this is it's not a debate. No matter what you want to, how you want to, carve it up, or it's an argument or whatever. Okay, well, it's an argument from faith, argument from popularity. So, but yeah. Oh, there we go. Rick Sanchez, thank you for your support, my friend. Yes. Well, Elena, shame those simps. Okay. Do you think that's going to do you think that's going to eliminate simps? I don't. Simps is like Simps is a universal constant. That's really what it comes down to. I got any more? Yeah, I got some more down here. Hang on. Well, dogs haven't come after me just yet. I thought I was gonna do this show until they started begging me for food, but it's not quite 4 o'clock yet. So. The thing I notice about Tradcons and moralists in general is that they always default to shaming as a way to frame their own ineptitude as a virtue. Okay. All right. Now I'm kind of getting away from the cuckold topic here, but I'll entertain you for just a moment here, John. Yeah, it's what's called Jesus smuggling. It's this that you enter into, and I didn't come up with that term. That was actually was it Rationality Rules guy, Stefan something or other. I can't remember his name. It's people who want to get into a debate, talk about things, talk about whatever, but their real purpose is to start to share their faith, to declare before man and beast or whatever that that Christ is king. Okay, but can we at least don't smuggle that in? Let's just say that from the very get-go, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to have a debate with you." No, you're not. You are looking for an opportunity to sermonize. And a lot of times, and here's the thing is I know a lot, and Andrew's one of them. Again, I have a lot of respect for Andrew. And there's a few other guys that are sort of on the Tradcon side, a lot of the guys on what is it, Iron Disciples, and some of these other dudes. They enter into the discussion from a very objective, very rational, reasonable perspective until they run out of gas for counter arguments. And then when they're out of gas, they start quoting scripture. That's nice, but thank you for playing. That's the end of the debate, because you're just basically making an appeal to omniscience. You're making an appeal to faith. You're making an appeal to, which is good. I mean, that's fine. But now we're having a different discussion. Now we have changed the nature of the debate, and it's what women do. What do you mean, Rollo? Well, when you start a conversation using the language of empiricism, it always sounds like hate to the language of emotionalism. Well, what that presumes is that men and women, but mostly women, use the language of emotionalism, and men like to at least start with the language of empiricism. Now that's been fading since the mid 70s, really. But when you are having a debate and you're having an argument, and I see this happen quite a bit on Fresh and Fit. Sometimes it happens on Access Vegas, even on a whatever podcast. They'll start out very good. They're very strong, right? They've got some points. They've probably taken some notes. They're really on their game. But when they run out of gas, the only default that they have left is to just, to do what's called Jesus smuggling. Well, we can agree to disagree. Well, essentially what you've done, and conservatives and liberals do exactly the same thing. When they can't win by using the language of empiricism, they default to emotionalism. How do I know this was with women? Because the minute that women run out of gas, they don't resort to spirituality. They resort to emotional language. And you'll see this happen all the time. When Myron starts talking about nuts and bolts, empirical data, stats and statistics, even Mike Sartain, right? This just happened like about a month ago or a month and a half ago, because a lot of these girls are his friend, right? He'll start talking about Dr. David Buss, and we're just naked murder apes, or he'll come up with something very technical and very objective, and especially if it has something to do that like shits all over astrology, right? Which was recent. When he speaks the language of empiricism, that's when you see women's eyes glaze over. We just did this not too long ago when I was like describing my disagreements with Will Costello and his incel study, that the hack research that was going on. I got bullet points for this, man. I got article after article after article, right? But that doesn't make for a very good or very entertaining YouTube show, because the minute we start talking and we're using the language of empiricism, women's eyes just glaze over and they just go back to their phones, right? Until we're done. And now we're going. It's like a commercial break for them. We're going to talk about empirical data and objective truth and everything for a minute. Just give us 5 minutes, and 5 minutes to come back. Oh, and now back to the show. It's literally a break. But what happens is like when Myron starts talking in empirical terms, that's when women go, "Who hurt you? Boy, she must have really done a number on you. Have you ever been in love? You need to go outside and touch grass." That's emotional language, because it implies it's snarky. Snark is always emotional, right? But it's I don't really, what it is it's saying, I can't beat you using objective empirical language, so I'm going to default to like what I do know. I speak it fluently. Emotional language. Who hurt you? Mommy didn't love you very much, did she? How was your relationship? Like, suddenly they turn into fucking Sigmund Freud. How was your relationship with your family? Are they still together? Did your dad spank you as a child? Like seriously, they suddenly know. Like, they turn into Carl Jung. You need to get in touch with your feminine side. Anytime you hear words that are synonyms or like directly emotions, that doesn't make me happy. I feel like, and that's why we make a joke of that, merch. I feel, well, when you say I feel, that anytime you preclude anything with I feel, you're in emotional language. And conservatives do the same thing. Right? They just couch it in God. They couch it in the Bible, or they couch it in whatever spirituality, right? Because they know that if they do that, then they've already got a ready-made audience. If they're the same religion, or if they're on Team Jesus or Team whatever Allah, they know that they have a built-in audience that's going to go, yeah, he's right. That's what we need. We need more God in the schools, right? And it's like the debate had nothing to do with prayer in school, but like now suddenly we're on that track. So it's shifting gears from an empirical conversation to an emotional conversation. It's almost like a game for me now, because I see it happen so often. When girls marry or are in a long-term relationship at a young age before the epiphany phase, are they securing the beta side of hypergamy or baby trapping the alpha fuck side? Depends on the situation, depends on the context. The other thing is that, like, people have asked me before, like, well, is she really going through her hoe phase if she gets married at like 23? Yeah, whether she knows it or not. Like, people have asked me that before. I've had girls tell me this before. They were like, I got married at 19. I didn't have a hoe phase. I just went into having babies, and now of course she's divorced at 30, right? Because statistically speaking, if you get married earlier, the odds that you are going to get divorced are astronomically more high. The sweet spot for marriage, by the way, is somewhere between like 26 and 28, I think. You be old, but not that old, and be young, but not that young. This is just from discussions I've had with James Sexton and looking at his stats. But so people like women will say, I never had a hoe face. Well, you did. You probably just lived it vicariously through your sister or your girlfriends or whatever else. And now that you're 30, you're like, I got to make up for missing out. And if you feel like you're got to make up for missing out, then you technically didn't actually not have your hoe phase. You just had it at a later date. But like, are they securing the beta side of hypergamy? I don't think they think of it that way. You're mixing up proximate outcomes with ultimate outcomes, Rick. So if you have you're giving young women way too much credit. I was on for example, I was on Adam Sosnick's show with Mike last month, and we had that one girl who was in the panel on Saucecast, and she was 23 years old. And she's like, I am not thinking about having kids at all. Like Adam said something like that. Like, do you want to have kids? Do you want to get married? You better shape up. No, like because she's 23 years old. He's trying to influence the younger generation. She's like, I don't even really think about marriage or kids. I'm 23 years old. I'm at the top of my fucking game. Which is interesting because there's almost a parallel to that for guys who are like 36 or 37 years old. I'm hitting my stride. Why would I want to fuck it up now with marriage? Why would I want to fuck up what I got a good thing going here? Why would I even think about that? Like, guys, if you want guys to get married, you better get to them like when they're idealistic and stupid, like in like their mid-20s. Most of those guys want to get married too, especially if they're like 80%er guys. If they're guys who don't fuck, they're happy. They are happy to get married. If they could find a good piece of ass, they would say, put a ring on it immediately. But so guys who have something else going for them, those are the dudes. But like the 23-year-old girl, she was like, I'm not even thinking about it. And I brought this up during the show. I said, it's not even an afterthought for her. Why was this question even come up? She won't start thinking about kids until she's at least 28, because that's just how it works. Well, they need to think ahead and everything. Well, yeah, it would be nice if they did, but the reason for that is because her head is in proximate outcomes, not ultimate outcomes. The ultimate outcome is like, well, you'll have a better family and you'll have a better life and you'll be happier if you get married and you have kids. That may or may not be so, just depends. But the thing is she's not even thinking about that. And that's what people don't realize. It's not even an afterthought for a 23-year-old girl. So to say like, well, to answer your question, like, is she securing the beta side of hypergamy? She's not even thinking about that. She's just probably thinking, I just want to be with this guy and fuck him. And if this is what I have to do because my culture says I got to marry him, then that's what she'll do. Which of course is why younger marriages fail. PUA died a long time ago. Only a few left. Todd V. You think Todd V still? I don't think anybody who was a PUA would say they're a PUA now. I just saw this thing. Mike sent it to me. Owen Cook and Michael Sartain and Sid annihilate the students. Oh, is this an old video? Fuck, I almost want to watch this. Mike sent this old, it's Owen Cook, Michael Sartain, and Sid annihilate the students. I think it's probably like one of their old RSD hot seats. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, PUA. You know what's funny about PUA is like people say, I wouldn't want to be a PUA. I wouldn't want to be a pickup artist. Those guys are posers. You realize that the probably the youngest PUA that you could probably like mention right now is probably 45. It's funny, but people's minds when they talk about PUAs, they're still like going back to the game that was published in 2005, man. Next year, the game will be 20 fucking years old. Please update your software. Being a black guy in New York City with a good job and in shape with game gives you options. It's like a fucking superpower, I bet. I know some girls who are hot wives and are married to white men. Oh boy. Thank you for that segue, Dark Knight Dev, because I got one more video for you guys. But before I get to that, let me finish out here. I think, Did I finish? Oh, here we go. Rational Trucker. Hey, man. How would you respond to a religious argument for cuckoldry if someone cites Joseph marrying Mary? I just brought this up a few minutes ago. Mary, who was not pregnant with his child. I have seen Jesus had 2 dads on church signs. And you know when you see those, by the way, Rational Trucker, is on Mother's Day. Because it's like, we're going to, and they give, like you go into the high school auditorium, because most of these fucking churches are at high school auditorium. If you go, this is so bad. I'm sorry. I'm going to hell for this. If you go to any high school gymnasium or auditorium in Central Florida, maybe Southern Florida, certainly Central Florida, you go to any high school gymnasium on a Sunday morning in Central Florida, there will be a church there. Guarantee it, right? If you can find an old Winn-Dixie grocery store, they will have gutted it and there will be a church in there. There are so many seed churches in Florida. It will make your head spin. And that's exactly where I've heard this argument before, right? And it's usually on a Mother's Day and they're handing you like, oh, here's mom's white rose, right? It'd be great if they gave dad a beer on Father's Day, but they don't. But yeah, that's the whole thing is like when there's a single women's ministry, which there are plenty of those. That's usually one of the rationales that they use is Mary was a single mother. No, she wasn't. She was inseminated by God. Yeah, but Joseph was technically a cuck. If you're going to go that, like, here's what you do. Here's how you respond to that. How would you respond to a religious argument of cuckoldry? Here's what you do. Because usually Rational Trucker, they will say, they'll make this case. They'll say, well, Jesus had a stepdad. He had a dad who stepped up. It was Joseph, right? Because God was Jesus' father, right? And Mary was technically a single mom. And Joseph was the father who stepped up. And I've literally heard that argument before. And so at that point, here's how you respond. You go, so Joseph was a cuckold because he's taking care of the parental investment responsibilities of, well, in this case, God's child. Sounds very noble and probably is, don't get me wrong. But I mean, by definition, Joseph was a cuck. Can we talk about that can you sermonize about that for the next 2 hours? It's how I say it. Yeah, it is how I say it. No. Can you be nicer? All right. Where? Why is he wearing that beanie? Let me tell you something. I have an Instagram post right now where I put 6 pictures of me without my beanie on. And let me tell you something. I was doing the prep for today's show and I was setting up the camera because I have to make sure I have to set the lighting every time I do the show in this room. And I don't wear a beanie when I'm walking around the house, right? And I was like, I'm just going to tie my hair half back. And I was this close to doing it. If I didn't have Ned today, I probably would have done it. One of these days, I think I'll surprise you guys and I'll take the beanie off and I'll just go with a half back. I've done the show like that before. People just don't remember. And you know what happens? Here's why. Why does he take that beanie off? Is he bald? And then I take it off and no, I'm not bald. Is my hair thinning? Yes, it is. Am I bald? No. But I could still do a half back and I could still pull that. I could certainly do it here. And people go, then what do they say? Are you gay? Are you transitioning? You look like Caitlyn Jenner. What do you want? Do you want the beanie or do you not want the beanie? Just tell me one or the other. Jesus Christ. Let's see. Winn-Dixie, man. Come on. If you don't know Publix, then you got to know Winn-Dixie. Holy shit, Rolo. I knew you live from watching on my TV. I knew you live from watching. And when I had to switch to find you on my phone, it was nearly impossible. Many layers. Yeah, well, the reason why is because I am getting diverted by an organization called Diverting Hate. That's why. And by the way, you're probably getting diverted to Justin Baldoni, who still hasn't answered the challenge yet. I want to know why this son of a bitch agreed to have is your material that weak that you need my fucking traffic? Really? Because I'm still holding. I haven't lost subscribers. I'm just not making a lot of them right now because they put the fucking, I'm basically shadow banned. And worse, actually, I'm having my traffic diverted. This is why I need, please give me more super chats. But yeah, you're right. Too many layers. I'm glad you told me that though, by the way, because everybody needs to know that I'm actively being shadow banned, and I'm actively having my traffic diverted to state approved, state sponsored influencers like Justin Baldoni, who still will not take my fucking phone calls. Cucks are just automating the solution to high-value males' reproductive problems. Yeah, they are the Temu and Alibaba sellers for Amazon and eBay. Thanks for that, Rick Terry. I've never thought of cuckolds as the Alibaba of sexual strategies. In a way, they kind of are. Now, I'm going to get into some really choppy water here in a second. Just want to say thanks for all. Cool. Got divorced, raped twice. I became a passport bro, converted to Islam, married a 21-year-old, took her virginity after marriage, and now she worships the ground I walk on. Well done. Bravo, sir. Wait, you know what? Hold on. I have this for you. Well done, sir. Well done. Bye con Dios. Oh man. Hi, Kyle. Favorite Pantera album. Dude, come on now. Well, I was going to say Cowboys for Hell. It's really not. It's the Great Southern Trendkill. And you know that. And I know that. So cut the shit. Okay. Great Southern Trendkill. Although Vulgar Display of Powers does have Hostile on it. So, but just the Trendkill. Thoughts on Mark Tremonti? Good. Great. When people mention Mark, it's like I think of Dream Theater and Petrucci. Like he's in the Petrucci pantheon. What is this? Come on, beanie with pom pom. Would you like that? I didn't tie it back actually. You want the beanie with the pom pom? I'll give you a beanie. Is this his real hair? Yes. See, I'm pulling on my real fucking hair. You could do that with a wig. Seem the cuck beanie. The cuck beanie? Really? The cucks wear beanies? Is that what you're trying to say? Why would you go there? Why would you tell me that? What advice would you give somebody who suspects their partner might be interested in involving in cooking? Well, guess what? I'm about to show you this video. Where'd it go? There and there. Hold on. Steady on. Okay, this is God. I can't even believe it. I'm ashamed. I'm literally ashamed that I'm about to show you this stuff. Before I do though, actually, I got a video, but I have to show you this stuff because I did actually load this stuff up. Now, I mentioned earlier because people had such a hard time understanding. Oops, wait, did I delete those? I can't believe I deleted those. Since you have such a hard time understanding basics like I need 2 and I need number 4. Hang on. And then I need number 4. Okay. All right. I actually had to blur out some of this because it's just heinous. All right. So, all right. When I was doing the build up and I was doing my homework for this episode, I came across the Cuck manual so that people can get a cartoon graphic novel infographic understanding of really what cuckoldry is about. And this will answer your question here in just a moment. Okay. So with no further ado, here we go. This is what the fuck is a cuck. Okay. And I'm going to have to actually open this up in my browser. What the fuck is a cuck? Yes, in case you were wondering, there are actually field guides and manuals to let you know exactly how and what a quote unquote cuckold is. All right, so here we go. This is the first one. Okay, man, John, he's such a cuck. LOL. Go. Okay, so hey, Matt, I keep seeing this word pop up, and what the fuck is a cuck? Great question. Cuck has been showing up a lot recently and not in a very positive way. Oh no, which is undeserved. So today we're going to shed some light on it with a Cuck and his partners. His partners. There's that word again, partners. Who enjoy very complicated and complex kink cuckolding. Got it. Okay, hi there. I'm a cuckold. Hi, this is my wife. Hello. And our best friend, current lover, bull of 3 years. Howdy. Joe, Kate, and Craig. Craig's the bull, by the way. Okay, not real names. Oh, really? Together, we're a cuckolding trio. Cuckolding is a kink based around trust, control, fear, humiliation, voyeurism, showmanship, and compersion. What the fuck is compersion? Compersion is a feeling of joy when a loved one takes pleasure from another romantic or sexual relationship outside the one they have with you. Oh, nice. So you guys get me for making up words. Okay, here we go. Part 2. It gets worse. If this isn't cringy enough for you, it gets better. Here we go. Being a cuckold is, Joe, shut up and get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. I'm gonna fuck your wife now. Dude, what just happened? He just booted you out of your bedroom. Your wife's in there. Wimp. I know. Isn't it just achingly wonderful? I imagine the dude with his hand on his head. So like, that's Andrew Wilson. Being a cuckold is to participate in the planning, watching, and having your partner engage with other lovers at the expense of yourself. It sounds selfless and self-sacrificing, but I get a sort of masochistic pleasure having my wife consensually taken away from me by another stronger, more masculine man. Here's a sweet agony to be denied or passed up in favor of another partner, to watch her derive pleasure from someone else and then getting my nose rubbed in it. That's where the pleasure. Remember what I said? No, actually, I'll keep going here. But aren't you jealous? Aren't you scared? Don't you know that you can be considered less virtuous? Yes, sometimes I am, but it's a thrilling, erotic feeling too. You see, Kate and I take that jealousy and fear and sexualize it. There it is. What did I tell you? You have to get past the revulsion response so that you can eroticize the firmware, the very functional firmware that's been a part of your psyche, well, human psyches for the last 200,000 years, so that you can enjoy it, right? Just like skydiving, there's a pleasure and a rush in facing your fears, certain death. By playing with with the things that scare us, we feel like we can control them better. Yeah, well, you feel like you can, but are you? Who knows, right? All right. So that's part 1 and part 2. There's 3 and 4 coming up, but I wanted to point that out real quick, just on that note. It sounds selfless. There's a sweet agony to being denied and passed up, blah, 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 to watch her derive pleasure from somebody else getting my nose rubbed in it, yada, yada. There it is. It sounds selfless and self-sacrificing, but I get a sort of masochistic pleasure having my wife consensually taken away from me by another stronger, more masculine man. There's always that dynamic. One guy is the wimp. One guy is the beta bucks, the less masculine, the one, and then there's the bull, who is the alpha fucks. That dynamic in this particular kink is key to female dual mating strategy. That's why women and guys get off on this. I'm going to show you the video here for the female side in just a minute, but that's the appeal. What did I tell you? Anything can become normal. Once you get past a revulsion, the human innate revulsion response, you can then eroticize it. And that's why this stuff sticks. That's why it's a popular form of pornography, a niche of pornography right now. So now I'm not talking about the actual function of the cuck. I'm talking about the proximate outcome, the proximate goal. Okay. The ultimate goal, of course, is taking care of another. Like, here's part of that kink. Oh no, my wife, he just came inside my wife and now she's going to have a baby that's not mine and I have to take care of it. Ha ha, that's great. The guys get off on that. Oh, now she's going to have his kid and I'm going to be the fifth wheel. I'm being eliminated. And the fact of the matter is even if it's just a fantasy, it's not always just a fantasy. And there's a reason why women get off on it. There's a reason why women like violent porn. There's a reason why they like 50 Shades of Grey. Even if it's a fantasy that they would never, ever engage in, the fact of the matter is they still have the fantasy, and the fantasy still triggers eroticism, and it still triggers arousal in women. Why? Why is that? Rob Henderson wants to say, well, just because women seek out hostile, violent porn does not mean that they actually want to be abused like that, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, you can make some sort of ethical argument for that or not. But the fact remains, why do they still get aroused by it? Because it's part of the subroutine. It's part of the evolved mental firmware. It's part of female nature. I'm not saying that this is not an advocacy. This is analysis. This is not endorsement. It is analysis. So even those fantasies are there for a reason. You could make the same case and say, like, well, if there's a guy who's heterosexual and he starts watching gay porn, but he would never engage in gay porn, is he gay? Is he just a closeted homosexual? In that case, most people would say, yeah, of course, he should express himself. He should fucking go and just do what he should just go be who he really is. That's what they would say. But if a woman fantasizes about violent porn, that's just fantasy. She doesn't actually want that. They don't say, oh, you need to just go and find and express yourself as based on that, act out on that. Nobody says that. Now my dogs are starting to act up. Okay, so that's that. Here we go. Last third one. Gets creepy here, guys. Sorry. So here we go. God, honey, I love his cock so much more than yours. You don't even compare. For me, I feel empowered. It stings, but it turns us on. This is the woman. I get to have a lover in addition to a husband. Alpha fucks, beta bucks in the same relationship. Craig is a manly man, testosterone personified, and there's an animalistic power in being submissive to him over my husband because she can't be submissive to her beta nice guy husband. I get a thrill out of fucking the alpha of the pack. Now, I had to blur these out because I don't want anybody to see the stupid illustrations here. I'm a queen who gets to fuck with marriage stereotypes, the thrill of an affair without the damage, throwing myself at Craig, knowing Joe loves / hates it. I get to personify a sluttier, more extroverted me. And it's not at the expense of our relationship. We do it together, even if we're not in the same room. It's weird to say, but I feel closer to Joe when I'm cuckolding him. I'm not. So of course, we've got to find all these rationales to keep the dude around because he's the beta bucks, right? And I'm in touch with something deep inside of him. The sex is pretty amazing too. Mm-hmm. Wait there. Craig and I are at it like rabbits. And when I throw Joe a bone and we fuck, it's with renewed intimacy and connections. It's like being in the honeymoon period constantly. Yeah. All right. Last one. Sorry. I know it's getting cringy. Being the third, this is the cuck. This is the bull. Being the third in a cuckold scenario is called being the bull. It too is a complex and deep role to play. We don't explore the same aspects of it as Joe and Kate do. I get a whole other set of rewards from it. I get to engage with two awesome people. I get to fuck an amazingly sexy lady whenever I want. I get to fuck my aggressive muscles and showboat as I fuck. I could just see grabbing her ponytails and waving to the crowd. And it's real. It's a real rush throwing a husband out of his bed to fuck his wife. It also It's also really fun coming up with new and outrageous ways to get Joe to squirm too. New rule for this week. You're not allowed to fuck her or to come. Hands off, boy. She's mine. What? Oh, okay. And while I'm not married to either of them, and it might stop at any moment over the years, our 3-person relationship has grown to feel like a family. Imagine that. You don't have to practice cuckolding the same way that we do it either. This is just what works for us. There's a lot of depth and nuance to how you might engage with it. Some people like to dip their toes in with hot wifing or hot husbanding. What? It's a bit like cuckolding, but it's just about the sex and nothing more emotionally. Kate, Craig, and I don't cuckold all the time. We have a perfectly normal life 95% of the time. Just, sometimes it's switched on. Now do you have a better understanding of cuckolding? Without further ado, here's the last video of today. This is the Cuckoldress.
Some of the women in the program, because I really wanted to know, ladies, what is it about this kind of relationship that appeals to you? Why do you want this? And I asked them 2 questions. I said, when you first found out about it, what was it that interested you? And they most of them said it was the one-sided open part of it, that they were like, that sounds pretty good. And I think if you ask a lot of women, they're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. You have like this loving, devoted partner and you get to have all this other fun.
Yeah.
And you both love it that way. That sounds amazing. Sure, sign me up.
Sound like alpha fucks and beta bucks? What an awesome freaking arrangement, man. I get to fuck the hot alpha. He comes over, rides me to glory and fucking digs me out. And then I still got my nice, loving, passive beta bucks husband who's all good with it. In fact, he gets off on it. It's an ideal situation. Why? Because she gets the best of both worlds. Remember what I said, like people think that like when I talk about like dualistic mating strategy, that I'm talking about women go and deliberately go to cuckold their husband who has a certain socioeconomic state. All of his attraction, of course, is based on status and value added, right? And then they deliberately go out there, fuck other guys, and with the express purpose of cuckolding that guy. That's when you get Mac and Murphy talking about, 30%. Well, that's some bullshit. That's not what dual mating strategy is about. At least that's not from a red pill perspective, a manosphere perspective. Nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with this situation right here. What woman wouldn't want to have the perfect, friend zoned husband and the fuck buddy bull? Yeah, sign her up, right?
But then afterwards, I said, now after you've learned about it and after maybe you've actually, had this kind of relationship, what is it that appeals to you most now? And they said that it was still the one-sided open part, but they also said they didn't realize, but they realize now that this is really female focused, that this really is about putting her on a bit of a pedestal. And the other thing that they realize now that they didn't know then was that that this kind of relationship does bring that next level kind of love, trust, and communication and bonding. And so I think that when it comes to
love, trust, and bonding, yeah. Funny how that's facilitated by a fucking like more muscular bull just riding you to glory. All that oxytocin that you got right afterwards, I'm sure that all translates into more trusting and more intimacy between you and your partner.
For me anyway, educating women about what this is all about and the benefits for women and couples, we need to echo those couple of things that people don't realize in the beginning is a big benefit.
Wow. Is like when a couple practices cuckolding, let's say here and there, like let's say they try it like once a year, would that still be called like a cuckolding relationship? Or is there a specific dynamic to to couples that practice it regularly, and that is a cuckolding relationship?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. I mean, for some couples, this is just like a little bit of spice that they add it to their bedroom
Yeah.
life, and it's just one of a bag of spicy kinks or whatever that they are introducing into their relationship. It's not really like their relationship revolves around that, or that they're that it's the focus of it. But then there are couples that this is their sex life. This is the
That's your sex life. Oh, I'm so horny. Oh, are we gonna fuck? No, I'm gonna call Jim over and he's gonna fucking dig me out for about 2 hours, and then we'll spoon afterwards. How's that sound, honey? Oh, great.
biggest component of their sex
Yeah.
life.
And like plays a big role in that dynamic of their relationship outside of sex, right?
Absolutely.
Anybody get the impression that this is a lot of rationalization for like trying to find some way to be okay, to get other people anyways to be okay with the fact that essentially what she has is a relationship with a fuck buddy and a guy that is in the friend zone, and call it marriage and call it a relationship and call it an alternative relationship lifestyle. There has to be some way to sort of to square the cognitive dissonance circle, right?
Because this is what's fulfilling for them, and I think that's where it how it depends on whether or not this is something that revolves around them or not. Is do you require this to feel fulfilled in your relationship? For me, that is like a giant yes. But for some other people, it could be like, yeah, I could go with it or not. I mean, it's whatever. It's fun. The way I really enjoy cuckolding, and like everybody has their own kind of way of doing it, but for me, it's not so much about him watching me. In fact, I prefer
No, it's about you getting dug out by a guy that looks way better than him.
like maybe not.
Oh, okay.
I really like the I like the mental game, like I said, when it comes to cuckolding. I like the kind of tease, and this is very much an intellectual kind of kink, and I really
Did you catch that? It's an intellectual, almost. This is something I notice, like amongst guys who are like are advocates for like poly or like open relationships or cuckolding. Even I've heard Destiny say this. I've heard Jeffrey Miller say this. That it's intellectual. You have to have an IQ of like 120 or something like that to actually make all this stuff work. It's only for very, very evolved intellectuals, because we're the only ones who can handle eroticizing our jealousy and coping with it and keeping it under. You have to have some sort of like mental energy to be able to. It's like the fact of the matter remains that you still have that instinct. There's a reason why you have mate guarding instincts. There's a reason why you get jealous, because 100,000 years, 200,000 years of human evolution predisposed you to it. There's probably a pretty good reason why that was. There's a really good line in and I don't know why it just came to me right now. There's a really good line in Jurassic Park, and I forget the name. I forget who it was. I think it was the initial doctor guy. He was saying, they're trying to feed the T-Rex in the paddock. They're trying to feed him the goat, like a goat for fucking. It's a T-Rex, right? It's not even a fucking chicken McNugget, right? Goat McNugget. But they want to feed the T-Rex with the goat, right? And they're looking at it like, T-Rex doesn't want to be fed. T-Rex wants to hunt. You can't repress 65 million years of gut instinct. And that always stuck with that line, for whatever reason, always stuck with me. There's another quote from, I think it was Aristophanes. I think it was him. Said, even the wisest of the wise will not try to teach a crab to walk straight, because a crab always walks sideways, right? Because that's in its nature of a crab to walk sideways. And T-Rex doesn't want to be fed. T-Rex wants to fucking hunt. And that's really where we're going with this shit right here. Is like her T-Rex wants to be fucked. Her T-Rex doesn't want to be fed, doesn't want to be domesticated. It doesn't want to be in a cage. It doesn't want a goat. It wants to hunt. T-Rex wants to fucking hunt. You can't repress 65 million years of gut instinct or 200,000 years of human nature.
like it when he can listen in. That's so fun, because he's got to kind of imagine what's going on. He can listen, he can hear a bit, and you can say things to him. And I just really enjoy that part of it. Or there's like FaceTiming for a quick little bit. Or he's nearby, he can hear something going on, but doesn't know exactly what's happening. Or he hears about it when I get home. That is the best.
Oh, I see.
I
There's many different
love that.
options.
Yes, there's so many different options. There's so
Do you think she would have a different opinion of this if her husband was actually way more conventionally masculine, was way more like alpha male, for lack of a better term? Would this even be something that would turn her on? See, the thing is, and I'll just get back to these here really quickly. I'll bring this. I'll take this out right now. Because this kind of speaks to this question. Does cuckolding, cuckolding have a high correlation with weak, unfit, low testosterone, less driven, compromised in conviction for mate guarding male archetypes? I think one of the part, like even by her own admission, like or like by what she's describing here, is, oh Jesus, what are you giving me here, Sammy? Sorry, Sammy interrupted me. He's gonna eat the goat. Yeah, T-Rex does not want to be fed; he wants to hunt. So does cuckolding have a high correlation with weak, unfit, low testosterone? Yeah, I would say that that's probably a predisposition. I would say that those personality traits, such as they are, or those characteristics, would probably lead to something like that. I think one of the commonalities and the constants in all of this is the fact that there's always a submissive man and there's always a dominant bull. So there's always an alpha fucks and there's always a beta bucks. Why is that such a, what you were just saying a minute ago? I love when he squirms. I love to listen to him, like have to imagine what my bull is like, digging me out from behind, right? Also, women who are in these situations become much more sexually adventurous with the guy who's just there, who's the fuck buddy, right? He's just there to fuck them and leave, right? So it doesn't matter, like she's going to do what she's going to do. She'll do things with him that she would never do with the other guy. Problem is that after a while, and people can, if you're in a cuckolding relationship, you feel free to call me to the carpet on this. But after a while, as mentioned in that other guide there, that situation becomes more, at least somewhat semi-permanent. So when that woman has to fuck her beta cuckold, do you think she's actually doing it because you think she's doing it? Oh, I love you so much. Do you think that's what's happening, or is it a pity fuck? Does she feel like she's cheating on her bull with her weak beta cuckold husband? And let me ask one more poignant question here before we close. Do you think that Melina felt the same way about Destiny when she left him for that other dude? And people kept saying, oh, he's kind of weesh. And he's got like the guy she left him for was kind of like an emo, kind of fey dude anyways, right? Yeah. But he demanded one thing that Destiny never did, which was exclusivity. I want you, and I would, she, of course, he threatens to like off himself, but he definitely had some demands, and he really, like, that was his boundaries. And she responded to that boundary that Destiny never put on her, because whatever, Destiny's Destiny. I don't know anything about the relationship, so I can't say. All I can just go from like what I see. So people were dumbfounded by that. They're like, I can't believe she would go with him. Well, why isn't she with the guy that looks like The Rock? Well, but because she's Melina and it's never going to happen for her. But the guy who she leaves him for had one thing that Destiny didn't. He wanted and demanded exclusivity. And that might have been enough of a masculine flex for her to say, you know what, I'm going with him. So when you get into these situations, I would love to see, I don't know if there's stats about this or whatever, but I would love to see if there's stats for women who get into cuckolding situations and they basically abandon their partner for the alpha male guy, assuming that guy catches feelings for his wife, which I'm sure probably exists. So I think, honestly, it's playing with fire, and it is going. That's one of the reasons why I had such a problem with Jeff Miller talking about are evangelizing for the poly lifestyle. Again, I don't have anything against him. I think he's a brilliant dude. I think he's written some really great books. I think he's a very smart motherfucker, especially when it comes to like peacock theory and some other stuff like that. Very good at what he does. I think that he's just simply rejiggering things in his rationale so that he can go and fuck. And you can rationalize whatever you want to. But I think that honestly, like, he's doing a disservice to the people who he's already probably, helped in some way by ignoring the mating mate guarding or human jealousy. Because after a while, shit's gonna happen. There's a reason why jealousy exists in men. And why men tend to react very hostile when it comes to that. So eroticize, and maybe more to this guy's point, eroticizing that jealousy, mate guarding response is probably a whole lot easier for guys who are less aggressive, who are low T, who are much more, for lack of a better term, more weesh, right? It's probably easier for them to do that because that right there is actually a survival adaptation for those guys, to roll over, to surrender, to give up, to show your belly, right? To be vulnerable. It's better to be vulnerable and show your belly than to flex on a guy who's clearly superior to you and will probably kill you if you don't. There's some hypothesizing about emotions like depression or emotions like sadness or emotions like despondency and nihilism, in that they serve an evolutionary function. That if you feel that way, you're less likely to post up on some guy who would more likely probably kill you, at least in our ancestral past would probably do so. And so it's better for you to be depressed. It's better for you to be angst ridden. It's better for you to be nihilistic than it is for you to be irrationally self-confident and have your ass kicked and probably die as a result of that. So essentially those emotions are, and this is a hypothesis, but it's those emotions exist as a survival mechanism for guys who are lower T, guys who are weesh, guys who are probably more likely to want to be involved in cuckolding situations. So as the cuckold, okay. Remember, there's three parties in a cuckold relationship, assuming there's three. There's the bull, there's the wife, and then the girl, the woman, and then there's the weak beta male. Alpha fucks, beta bucks, and it's a kink and it's a lifestyle. How does that track? Yeah, because I will tell you right now, there's no kink based on mate switching hypothesis. There's no, oh man, wouldn't it be great if I could just get Joe over here and he could pretend to be my husband for a while? And I'm not going to fuck him, but I would just want to pretend to be the wife of a high status guy for a while. That kink doesn't exist. But you know what does exist? The dual mating strategy, alpha fucks and beta bucks, bull fucks, wife, cuck watches bull and wife fuck. That exists. But there's no kink. There's no evolutionary the thing that's getting me these days, by the way, is just how much these gatekeepers of evolutionary psychology, how far they've fallen from the evolutionary side of evolutionary psychology. Virtually everything that is sort of these apologetics for female nature or men's nature, all of these, quote unquote research data and everything else, which are based on questionable fucking gathering methods as it is. But most of this shit is meant to apologize for male nature or female nature. Oh, women shouldn't feel so bad, or those incels shouldn't feel so bad because it's really not about height. It's really not about alpha fucks and beta bucks. It's really not about hypergamy being like, the 8s, 9s, and 10s, right? It's really not about 80%, 20%, 4.5%. It's really not about that. There's more hope than you guys think. And then you're just basically selling false fucking hope and false fucking dreams. And on the back of not evolution, but on social constructionism. And I see these guys just opting for social construction rationales for things rather than hard evolutionary data. And now I also, of course, blame that on the crisis of replication, which was initiated as soon as more and more women got into the soft sciences like evolutionary psychology and psychology in general. Was 87% of college graduates across every field of psychology are female. Do you think that that would have some sort of impact, some implicit bias impact on how we perform experiments and how we do funding and the interest in the studies in the first place? Do you not think that that probably has something to do with it? I'll wait. There you go. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I got to go feed my. Now I have 2 dogs staring at me with big marble eyes right now. I should turn out. Should I turn the camera on? But anyways, so that's it for today. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. I tried to be as lightest touch possible today. Again, nothing against Lucario. I think Lucario was right in his assessment when it came to cuckold, but it was incomplete. His definitions were incomplete. I think Andrew needs to work on logical fallacies if he's going to maintain this idea that he's doing debates and argumentation and everything else and entailments and everything. I'll be happy to send you a poster of logical fallacies so you can remind yourself, because I think he has a really good message, and I think it's diminished by the fact that it is he defaults to, like, he's kind of one-dimensional when he runs out of gas. And usually it's a reliance on appeals to the masses, appeals to faith, appeals to omniscience, those kinds of things. He'd be a better debater if he knew if he had a background in classical debate, first off. So it's just something to think about. Again, iron sharpens iron. Please don't think of this as like some sort of shots fired, and please don't say that it's shots fired, because that's not my intent here. It's basically like constructive criticism. So when you're in these situations, again, and I'm sure he will be because he's a regular on whatever podcast now, remember that if you'll break out of this rut of having to rely on the same arguments and the same logical fallacies if you know what they are in the first place, and realize that you don't need emotional language to win a debate and an argument that is based on empirical, objective, observable data and reality. That's how you win. You win an empirical argument with empirical language and empirical data, not with emotional language. And that emotional language also extends to your faith and your religion and everything else. And I understand that that's a really tall order for guys who want to sort of declare their faith before man so that God won't deny them heaven or whatever. I get it. I know that that's your witnessing, ministry objectives. Got it. It doesn't win arguments. It doesn't make your case for you, and you don't need it to win those arguments in the first place. So, got it. All right, guys. Let's see. What do I got coming up? We got Access Vegas is coming up this Thursday. That'll be June 6th. If you are in the Las Vegas area and you'd like to be in the green room for that, please hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram, DM me, and I'll be happy to make sure that you get the directions and you can come hang out. I found a drummer. This guy's name is great. His name is Jake. He's a good dude. But going to start working with him very soon. I might have a singer too for my Las Vegas music project. I am looking for a bassist at this point too. So if anybody's in the Las Vegas area and you like to play like rock, groove, metal, thrash, I'm trying to come up with some. I'm a bass player myself too, so it's like I always kind of like the groove oriented kind of bassists. So if you're looking for a project in Las Vegas, again, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. I'll be happy to talk with you. Just like all you got to do is send me a couple of samples, like just a video or a MP3 is fine. So check that out. Yeah, Jake's a good dude. I am also working now. We're just about ready to sign the deal with MOA, myself and Joe Marin, to do what we're calling the MOA Gentlemen's Club. Okay. What that means is it is a specific group of guys that's within the MOA group. You don't have to be an MOA to be in it, but it helps if you are, because that's where we're partnering with MOA for men who are between the ages of 45 and 65 years old. This is the prime demographic for guys who are ready to self-delete, right? Men end up self-deleting at 4 times the rate of women and 8 times more likely after a divorce. So this is for you guys. One thing I noticed, and my business partner, Joe Marin, noticed, is that there's a lot of guys who are in that demographic that join like MOA or join some of these groups, and they like it and it's fun and it's good. It's always fun to go to Sapphire Strip Club in Las Vegas. but we're doing something that specifically caters to like helping educate and helping like sort of reintegrate guys back into of that demographic into the sexual marketplace. So that is coming up. We're going to start our trial run of this is going to be on June 13th. It's going to be in Los Angeles. It's going to be at Academy, and that is where Babes in Toyland is going to be. So we're going to start there. It'll be Wednesday the 12th. We're going to have a meetup and a get together there. And then we're going to, then the next day, of course, we'll be going to Academy, which is Babes in Toyland. We've got a table reserved there already. And it's basically so guys can get to know each other, go out there and just sort of be immersed in like a social environment that they might not necessarily normally be able to do. So we're going to have sort of a meetup, a talk. We're going to just sort of, sort of compare notes. It's just guys getting together, talking, right? It's not a hard sale. If you're interested in that and you're on my mailing list, you're going to get that mailer in your email very soon. If not, and it sounds like something you'd like to get involved with, again, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. You can DM me, just hit me up on those, or you can just simply email me. All of my contact information is in the description down there, down below the fold here. So if just click on more and you'll get it. You can email me about it, or you can hit me up on Connect. I'll be happy to answer on that too. And then I will give you guys the details for our upcoming meetup, which will be technically June 12th and 13th at Babes in Toyland. And we're just doing this. And I know Jim Kilgore is going to be a part of that. He'll be along for sure. So if you're between the ages of your demographic is 45 to 65 years old, this is for you, because there's not a lot that's specifically for guys in that age cohort. If you're older, if you're Robert Kiyosaki and you're 77, you can come too, of course. But that's really just sort of our target demo. And so this is going to be something that we're regularly going to do. We're going to make an official launch of this probably in mid-July, but this is our first kind of like, proof of concept. So if you're interested, please hit me up. Again, it'll be June 12th and 13th. I'll make another announcement of this, of course, on Access Vegas on Thursday, which is coming up soon. And now my dogs are crying, so I have to go feed them. So that's that. And I will see you guys. I'll definitely be here next show will be in the new studio. It'll be in the new studio. I read the one that I showed you in the video last time. So got something really good to look forward to. We have a multi-studio apartment now. We've decided that we're going to put at least 2 and possibly 3 studios into this apartment. So it is a dedicated space for doing podcasting. My goal, of course, is to bring Access Vegas into the large one and do it from there, because it's just the views are just panoramic and sweeping. I can't fucking believe we got this place. So if you are in Las Vegas and you are a podcaster, or if you need some space or something like that, hit me up. Hit up Miguel from Cultivate or Dollar Cost Crypto. We're going to eventually be doing much more with special guests, in studio guests. And of course, we'll have the big podcast shows like Access Vegas there. So that's coming up, something to look forward to. And I'm beaming about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Anna's bugging me. So I'll see you guys later. And we'll see you on, next week. Same time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And that'll do it for me today. Bye, guys.
Would you do it again? I need to feel you on top of me. It was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. All right. Open like a matchbox stereo. Time to give my thoughts now, let go. I feel like I just took a bath in battery acid. But maybe we can talk again, and maybe things are different. Try to, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can talk again, then maybe things are different. Try to, baby, one more again. Gotcha, bitch.
Stop the cap.
In the bathroom, tearing up everywhere while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name?
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty? Ugh.
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stubbing with her hair. Like she's Claudia Kelly.
Well, I'm a whore.
Run me, drive me up and down like a pony. Turning up my song, getting messy. Working up and down on your body. Run me, drive me up and down like a pony. Turning up my song on your body. Baby, when you're down to it all night. But maybe when you're fucking dead, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? Oh, Lord. And maybe when you're fucking dead, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again.
This podcast has been a production of the Rational Bell. All rights reserved. 2024 registered trademark. Go look it up and steal it. And don't steal my stuff.
Thank you very much. Can I be in charge for once?
Well, I'm a whore.
And maybe we can fuck again. And maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again?
Dump that bitch.
And maybe we can fuck again. And maybe things are different.
Try this to be cool.
The best of my life.
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
I feel like I just took a bath in battery acid.